Hello and welcome everybody to Racing Line Motorsport. This is Stuttgart Unleashed and we are here at Spa-francorchamps, a beautiful circuit here in Belgium that I am excited to be at with one of my very close companions here in the virtual world. James Warren joins me in the booth today. And James, are you excited for this, I believe, 90-minute race around this multi-class circuit?
Oh, it is fantastic to be here. Massive thanks to the Racing Line guys for inviting me and you to comment out on this race tonight. I'm beyond excited. We have an unbelievable grid of drivers. Davide Chiesa, Niels van der Kock, Marek Shins, all like elite level drivers. So I can't wait to see them rip it up tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited myself. Here is just making sure all of the settings are perfect out there for everybody out in the Twitch world. So please let me know if there's any issues with audio or anything like that. We don't want the quality to be diminished for any of our viewers out there as we get ready for a little bit of practice before we go into the qualifying session here. And James, I believe there's a little bit of a different, I guess you could call it, organization to qualifying today. We're going to have, because of the multi-class grid, a little bit of a split qualifying.
Yeah, we've got tonight just Porsche race only, so we've got the GT3 car and the GT4 car. So yeah, it'll be split up to 40-minute sessions for each car because obviously if you have them going around together, it's going to be a mess. There'll be traffic. So 40 minutes to set a lap time. Not very long on a circuit that's 2.5 minutes in length for those GT4s. So only going to get 3 to 4 laps, I'd expect, max to set a good time.
Yeah, it should be a fun race to watch. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen when the blue flags start coming out, because there's going to be even more than what we're used to here with this GT3 racing that I'm familiar with commentating.
I
And
mean, yeah, there will be no blue flags for the GT4 cars. The marshals will wave them, but they're so much slower. There's no obligation for them to get off the racing line. So you're going to find at points where GT3s are battling. That GT4 is going to be in the way, and he will not deviate from the racing line because he doesn't have to. So there's always potential for accidents. Multi-class racing throws a lot up. Expect something potentially up Eau and Radeon is where I'd watch out, especially with the massive speed differences that you're going to see as the GT3s take that flat, and the GT4s, even if they are taking it flat, we're taking it flat about 40 k's slower than the GT3s, and you don't want to be slamming on the brakes up Radeon. I can tell you that much.
yeah, that would cause quite a few difficulties as we are now on board with a few drivers out here right now. The 222 car of Davide Chiesa here, sitting in P4 overall. You can see he's running about 2:32 is his best time so far, and that's just off the pace of Niels van der Kock, who is really setting the mark there in these GT4 cars. And the top so far would be Ippolito here, who's still in the box. He's set a time of a 2:19.8 there. That's the quickest so far of the GT3 cars. Just remember, this is going to be specifically for free practice. We don't know what the pace is going to be when they actually come out and set their qualifying times. As please excuse the lag spikes. Still a few drivers joining here as free practice still has about 13 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ippolito's time right now on 19.8. I expect pole to be in these temps, 39-degree track, probably about maybe a 16 would be an incredible lap time, so probably a mid-17 I'd expect. And the GT4s are anywhere from 10 to 12 seconds slower. Obviously depends on the track length, so I'm not sure what we should expect from those guys tonight, but I can promise that Niels, Davide, and Marek Shins will be right up the front of that group of cars when it comes to qualifying time.
And there's Rosetta there, about 0.6 off the pace set so far for that GT3 class. And tell you what, I'm used to a few of these drivers who I've seen race before, but I'm very excited to see what type of different pace we get here. Is obviously we're from PPR, so we're used to drivers such as Niels van der Kock, who we know is very quick out there in that championship.
Yeah, Niels is quick wherever he goes, basically, it seems. He was top 5, top 6 at AOR Split 1 this year. He actually races for Racing Line Motorsport as well in the SimGrid World Cup. He's racing on a team with Marek Shins, with Kevin Siclari, and with George Boothby. So, yeah, anyone that's driving in the SimGrid World Cup is an elite level race driver. So I guarantee he'll be up the front today unless he falls into trouble, potentially with a GT3 or with some kind of mistake.
And looking down here, still a few drivers getting settled in, getting their car setups underway here, and about 12 minutes to go as we wind down the practice session here. And I'm sure these drivers are pretty amped to get out here and race in a multi-class grid. It's always one of the more exciting races to watch for me.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and the fact it's one make just really adds something to the race today. It's just 24, 28 Porsches just flying around Spa for 90 minutes. What could be better?
And look here, a very, very respectable livery here on Marek Shin's car.
Yeah, I think he's German, so I assume that's the German flag sign he's got going on there.
I think that's a fair assumption, James.
I mean, he could be Belgian, but I'm pretty sure he's German. It's a really, really cool car design.
Yeah, fair enough. Here is he's coming through. He's about 13 seconds off the GT3 cars up front and about 2 seconds off the pace set by Alfarano there, who's going to be leading the way for the GT4 car so far in this session.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to race in a GT4 only league a month and a half or so ago. Just the Cayman GT4 car that these guys are driving today. And I can tell you, these cars on high fuel versus low fuel, the speed difference is massive. So it's going to be really tough to gauge, like, because Marek there has gone top of the GT4 class. But is that lap a qualifying lap and everyone else is on race fuel, or are they all on qualifying runs right now? It's going to be impossible to say how quick they really are until we get to qualifying.
Yeah, that's a great point to make. Real quick, I'll touch on a bit of the rules for today. There is a mandatory pit stop to be made during a 20-minute long pit window. There's no restrictions on the strategy or additional stops, so you can take 2 if you want, but you have to take at least 1.
No restrictions on tyres tonight, is that correct, Curbsy?
There is no restrictions on the strategy or additional stops, so whatever you want to take in your pit stop is up to you.
Well, a 39-degree track temp, you would think that the cars would take tyres. Like, that's the logical thing. It's probably quicker. If someone doesn't take tyres, I can just imagine them crawling through this middle sector here. And then with the Camel straight, I'm not sure how well they'd be able to defend. Yeah, I imagine it'll just be a simple one-stop race for every car. Taking 2 would be illogical unless you've got big damage, because the pit lane at Spa is so long. Of course, it goes all the way down to Radion. It's not just turn 1 here.
Yeah, this is definitely a track where a drive-through penalty might cost you even a bit more than you would think because of the pit stop lane, or the pit lane here. And it's quite difficult to navigate through there and get out without losing too much time.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's really tricky, the pit exit here. As you come up, you basically bend around Radion Eau Rouge, and then you rejoin onto the racing line, onto the Camel Straight. And you have every right to be there, because you have to come onto the track somehow. But for maybe a car following someone else and doesn't see you leaving the pits, I've seen accidents happen there before, and it's a pretty dangerous place to rejoin.
Yeah, dangerous to rejoin, but as you said, there's no other option. You got to get out on track, and it's the only place to enter. It's like merging on the highway. You got to get there.
Exactly. Put your blinkers on and move over and just hope that the guys behind are seeing you there and they're aware.
And here's Maximilian here running in P9 overall, and he's going to be about P4 in that GT4 class there. So he's putting himself up the charts here a little bit. A few drivers behind him, few ahead, so room for improvement, but still a good time. So I'm excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do with a quali setup.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's so much fun ragging a GT4 around any racetrack, but this Cayman car, the weight transfer means you can really throw it in, and it's not got much downforce, but the grip, it will stick. It's just a brilliant car to drive. So much fun. Even in turn 1, you're not going to want to use first gear. It's got no torque there, so keep it in second and try and just maintain as much minimum apex speed as you possibly can. And just hope you carry that speed all the way down the hill and then back up towards the end of the Camel Straight in Lake Om.
And very quickly, I'm going to test out the replay function while we're still in free practice. What better time to test it than in free practice? That's why we're here. So let's see if that works. It looks like we do have it up there. And hopefully you can still hear me over that as we're trying to make sure everything works out very well here for everybody watching, and it looks like it is. So there is the replay functionality, and back to the live racing like it's nothing. And James will be able to talk over that as well. So anybody out there in the Twitch world, if you see something you want me to replay, you're going to have to tell me almost immediately. It's a 20-second buffer, and we'll get it up there for you.
Yeah, 20 seconds to find it and play it again, but I imagine there'll be tons of action today. I really, really think there will be. I can't wait for free practice to end and for qualifying to get started to see these laps.
Yeah, I'm excited for qualifying as well. That's been just about my favorite part of ACC racing. As you know, James, I'm quite new to it, but learning every day that I come out here and attempt to commentate, and the qualifying is so thrilling. When you're within 1/100th of the guy ahead, it's so fun seeing these drivers improve lap after lap.
Oh yeah, and with this single class is a little bit different, but the way the balanced performance works in GT3s is remarkable. You can have 10 different cars, front engine, mid-engine, rear engine, and they can all be in the right hands within less than a tenth of a second of each other. It is just racing unlike any other kind on the planet.
And welcome to everybody out there in the Twitch world. I see your messages. I will be keeping an eye on them, and I'm sure the moderators here at Racing Line Motorsport will as well. So the quali rules coming up in just about 5 minutes. The first 14 minutes will go to the GT4 drivers, and once they are done, that's at the 15:30 session, or 15:30 hour on the clock. So what you see in the top of the screen there on the right-hand side of that banner, when that strikes 15:30, all GT4 drivers must be in the pits. At 1600, GT3 drivers can go out. So there's going to be a little bit of a delay there, but all drivers will be out on track, or I'm sorry, all drivers from one class will be out on track. They will box, and then the next class will come out. Which I think is just about the best way to handle this, James, as we see, even when you have a bunch of guys out there with the same class of cars, you see a bunch of lap traffic becoming an issue, whereas if you split it up a little bit, it puts you in a better position.
Oh yeah, it's the only way that makes sense when running an event like this. Without it, as I said, it will descend into carnage pretty quickly, because the GT3s are 10-11 seconds lap quicker than the GT4, so how can they expect to leave that buffer? They simply can't. So by splitting into two different fields makes the most sense, and adds the time pressure. Well, they get less time to set a lap, so every corner has to be absolutely nailed if you're going to be taking pole position here today.
Yeah, it sure does. And looking around, you can see those lap times down there in the GT4 class. Look how close they are, about the top 5 or so. And this is in free practice, they're this close. I can't imagine what they're going to be doing in qualifying session. And remember, this is only about half the drivers out on the track so far. The rest of them opting to just hang out in the pits and get their laps in during quali.
Yeah, I guess just the cars in the pits just watching. What's everyone else capable of doing today? Because they have done their practice. You would hope this isn't the first time they've practiced doing some laps for today's race.
Right, exactly.
They'll know where their pace is, and they might just be watching. Okay, this guy's quicker than me. Where is he gaining time on me? And just a little bit of scout before the race. Most drivers do it, I think, if they're not 100% sure they stack up against a really quick field we've got today. So I'd expect that's what they're doing. Yeah, as you said, half a second between the top 5 GT4 cars. Pretty impressive at a normal track, but a track as long as Spa, that gap's even more impressive because it should be longer.
And you know what, James? You know me. You've known me long enough now to know one of my favorite parts about ACC is the custom liveries here, and all of the liveries in this game, actually. And look at this livery from Sergio Suardi here. Down in P25, but that's a beautiful livery on that GT4 car.
The black and gold, my favourite colour combination on the car, as you know, with PPO Esports with me. It just looks so good, doesn't it?
It does. Phenomenal. We will have a livery constructors at some point during the season, just to vote on all of our favorites.
Yeah, I still think Marek Shin's German theme livery for me is the best one that I've seen so far, but
that is,
I'm open to change in my mind.
That is a good looking livery. There it is, right on screen. And it's very clean. I wish there was a bit of metallic in there. Maybe change that yellow to a bit of gold.
Oh, you can't beat matte black though.
That's fair.
You need the matte color. Hopefully it looks yeah, it doesn't get too dirty during the race today, but I'm sure there'll be some runs off to the grass from cars at this track. Not much run-off area in the middle sector.
Yeah, and let's see, as we have 2 minutes to go, so anybody out on track setting a hot lap right now, it looks like Francesco here in the 911. So GT3 car here gets a little squirrely there, but keeping it on track. There he goes. He's trying to improve his time. Go ahead, James.
I was going to say about the GT3 car here, normally in a recent update they changed the balance performance here, and the Porsche GT3 is now starting to struggle compared to other cars. It just lacks a bit of top-end grunt and can't quite gain it back in this middle sector here. But in a just Porsche GT3 race, they could really run a fair bit of downforce because they don't need to worry about the top-end speed because there's no worry of a Ferrari or a Lamborghini flying past them today. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how different the setups are on the cars today. If you're in the same car as me, do I run low wing and try and be able to defend in a straight and maybe get past you? Or do I run the higher wing and just go for pure lap time, of which the higher wing should give you?
And let's see, does keep it flat there through Blanchimont, so good pace here in the GT3 car. Half a second off of Murano there in P1 overall in this practice session. And he'll come through the final bus stop chicane here. Hard on the power out of there, and a pretty good exit as well. So there he goes up into P2. He did improve on his time by a few tenths there. Still 3 tenths off that mark set by this man who we are on board with now, Matteo Murano.
Yeah, that was a great lap from Philibus, especially considering, if you don't remember in the middle sector, he was held up through the chicanes of, I think it's turn 13 and 14, by a GT4 car. So was there 3 tenths lost there? Potentially. I'm not sure, but I reckon he's right there with Murano for the top spot in GT3 class right now.
Yeah, I think they were battling a little bit. It was actually right through here where we're seeing Murano go through now is where, you know, we talked a little bit about those GT4 cars. Are they going to get in the way of the GT3 cars? Well, absolutely. At some point they are. It's going to happen. You know, it is a very long circuit, but they will be near each other for quite a bit of this circuit. I believe about a 7-kilometer long circuit here.
Yeah, and I think a huge factor for who wins this race today is who deals best with the traffic. Do the GT3s catch them up the Kemmel Straight, in which case you're going to lose 0 time? Or do they catch them through turn 10, turn 11, turn 12? When you're just going to have to accept you're going to have to follow through there. There's not the corners aren't quick enough for your error to come into play, and there's no chance you're getting by them. So that's really a huge thing.
Let's see here, as free practice is ending, see if we have anybody out on track right now, still just trying to set that last great lap time before the qualifying session begins. Onorati here coming around, let's see where he is exactly on track, around the final corner it is, and here he goes across the line. Will he improve on his time? No, not quite. Settles in there with a 2:31.2 as he actually exceeded track limits, I believe.
Yeah, 2:30.7 exceeded track limits. So again, he's right in there. Put a valid lap together, and he's right in there competing at the top of the GT4 field. So I am very excited for this qualifying session to start.
And we'll be right back as soon as we get a word from our sponsors. And here we are back for qualifying session. You can see, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is qualifying, not the race, but look at Niels and Marek Schins here already going at it on their outlap, trying to get that better track position for their qualifying lap. And you know what, James? If this is how good qualifying is going to be, I can't wait for the race.
This is absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure what race control are thinking right now. If I was a steward here, I don't know if I'd be gritting my teeth or loving it as well and letting them race. But no, these guys are teammates in the World Cup, like I said earlier. This is brilliant to see. Two guys, they know how to race side by side. Really clean. And Neil's just shown that, yeah, I'm a little bit quicker than you. I've got the track position, so you'll have to wait behind me when we start these laps.
That's just, it's kind of brilliant from Niels, actually. I think it's a little bit of a mind game, too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm a complete loss, the dirty air doesn't really hamper these GT4s. Like, look at Schins follow here. It's not an issue because there's not loads of air on them. So if I'm Marek Schins right now, I'd say, okay, if I start 4 or 5 tenths back, I'll get all the benefits of the slipstream on my lap here, and I won't be too affected by the dirty air. So Niels may have won the battle, but I think Schins might win the war here.
Well, let's see. As Niels is rounding out through the final couple of corners here, and you can see Schins really backing off there to give himself some space to the driver in front. And here goes Niels to set his first qualifying lap of the day. And let's see, is anybody coming out of the pit just now that he might get a tow from? It doesn't look like it. So he will be in clean air for the duration of this lap.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised that Schins didn't stick with him there. Maybe he values the clean air more, but in a GT4 car, from my experience, slipstream's valuable, especially on a track with a Sector 1 like this, as we watch Niels fly up over Rouge and Radion.
Oh, and that's a great view to really get a feel for that elevation change there in one of the most brilliant corners in motorsport.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And he used all of the track there, went over the white lines, but it's okay. The game lets you get away with it there. It's kind of inconsistent, but this is like a really, really good Sector 1, really pushing the limits so far.
Yeah, it looks like he's setting already a pretty decent lap time. I don't have all of the telemetry available, but just from what I'm seeing from this driver, it seems pretty good so far. The number 47 car that we're used to, because it's the 47 racing team, Niels van de Kokel.
Oh yeah, and one key difference you might be starting to notice is these GT4s, if you want to be quick in them, you have to eat the curbs. GT3s, especially the Porsche, are a little bit more sensitive, but in a GT4, you can really attack them. There's no real danger of it forcing you offline or spinning out. The soft suspension on these cars really carries the curbs nicely.
And as Niels rounds out through the second sector here, just towards about 75% of the way there through that second sector, and still seems like a pretty tidy lap from Niels. And look at the gap he's already set into Schins behind. It looks like Schins kind of fell off a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was when they crossed the line. I haven't been really paying too much attention to Schins' lap, but like there, that is perfect line from Niels, just getting to the curb, and now he's got one braking zone to go. Can the GT4s go flat through Blanchimont? I'm not 100% sure. He might need to go on board to see that. Does he stick it flat?
Oh, lifts just a little bit there, James.
Yeah, slight lift, but that seemed pretty good. And just 2 more corners to navigate now before setting the first time of the session.
Yeah, let's see what he does is he's wrapping around these final corners, loses the rear a little bit, but collects it brilliantly, and you see the smooth input through the chicane, and here he goes across the line. It's going to be a 230.3, and let's see, what is Schins going to do? Schins is actually going to move ahead of Niels. Did Niels actually have track
invalid?
Yeah, an invalidated lap time. It was 1 thousandths off of Schins' time.
Wow. Where did Niels go valid? Was it over here? Was it that? Has he just done it again there? Is him taking that many liberties through Rouge and Radion? The game's just saying, actually, no, that's not okay.
I wonder if that's what it is, and that's unfortunate if that's the case. Here's Nicolino coming across the line, and it looks like he invalidated as well here. A 233.0. is what is said here by the Porsche driver, but it does not count.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, apologies, just very quickly, when I said those lap times, I'm 100% serious. A 2:30.324 from Shins and a 2:30.327 from Niels. So almost identical lap times from the two drivers, but Niels, unfortunately, does not count.
And all of that is 200th back from our pole to Mattia, which is just incredible. I am really surprised at the invalidations here from half our field with invalid first laps. There aren't too many places. You've got Eau Rouge and Rally on shore, and potentially turn 16 before Blanchimont. That's really about it, so I'm surprised they're invalidating so often, as Mattia looks on it once again.
And here's Velazzi here coming through for their first time on this circuit. As you can see, the last lap time of 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Well, that's just not going to be correct there, or else they might be driving a Prius through this circuit. But clearly, this is Stuttgart Unleashed, which means we have the Porsches out, the GT3s and the GT4s that you see out on track right now. And here comes through the final bus stop chicane here. Gets on the power, and what type of lap time are we going to see here? Seems a bit cautious on acceleration there. And that may just be a little bit of extra time taken there, 2:35.3.
Yeah, I think that's one where, as you see, it's not been... I think he's got invalid somewhere and just completely backed off of it. Cool those tyres down, because GT3 can run 4 laps in a row and you won't lose too much performance. These GT4s is really 2 laps and you're done. So if your first lap's gone, you're best off backing off by a few seconds. Not too slow to keep the temps, but just cool them down a little bit and stop it. Keep any grip you can on the surface of that tyre.
And keep an eye on Davide here. Already up on his previous time. He's 2/10 off of pole position right now for the GT4 class. And coming through the final chicane here is Davide. And he's 4/10 up right now. So here he goes. Coming across the line. What are we going to see from the driver? Right into pole position there by about 5/100ths of a second ahead of Mattia.
What a lap from Chiesa. We only caught the end of it. He has more time like that. The bus stop wasn't perfect. Went in slightly deep to the first section, but struggled to get it rotated in second gear, which you have to take. He's definitely got, I think, another 10th in that last corner as well, but what a lap.
Yeah, that was a great lap to unseat Mattia there from pole position, but look at the times in the top 3 right now, and with those top 3 will hopefully soon be Niels, because we know he has the pace to be up there with them. We saw almost an identical lap time to Shins there, who's sitting in P3 right now. He's just 3/1000ths behind. And here comes Niels van der Koekel through Sector 2 right now. And a very infamous corner here, especially if your name's Antonio Giovinazzi. You might find yourself collecting a wall here.
Yeah, I assume the Italians that were streaming for know Antonio Giovinazzi and remember that crash reasonably well.
Both crashes, both times he's driven this circuit in a Formula 1 car, he's crashed in the same sector.
It's just cursed, I guess.
It is. So hopefully the Italians racing with us today don't make that same mistake, as here comes Niels through about turn 16 now and really going wide there. And James, how do you feel about that?
I mean, if it's valid, it's lost time, hasn't it? It's not the most effective way of doing the corner. And Niels doesn't drive GT4s that often, and that, so far, based on where he is in the standings, that's apparent, because he's just going to be a little bit more cautious through that lift early, get on the power earlier.
Well, hold on a moment. If my timing delta is correct, we may see an absolute thriller of a lap here from Niels. Coming through the chicane here is Niels, and coming across the line, what time are we going to see? Niels may have invalidated once again. Niels cannot keep his car on track.
We're now at the point race control have just spoke through to us. 5 minutes left in the session. He's now on old tyres, so assuming he's got 2 more laps of subpar tyres, he might as well box now, outlap, and they might only have 1 lap to try and get a valid time in. And do you go for pole at that point, or just try get it round while keeping your 4 tyres in the white lines?
Well, with saying that and knowing the pace that Niels has and what we've seen so far, I would probably just go for somewhere in the P5 or 6 range. Just move up a little bit on the grid, or else you're really not going to be fighting for much of a win here.
Yeah, Mattia's just set 2:29.9, which is an outstanding lap, but there's a second from Mateo to P4. You'd like to think, both of us knowing Nils' pace, he could set a banker time in that within a second.
Oh,
right?
keep an eye
You
on
would like
Shins.
to
Here
think.
comes Shins across the line. Is that going to be enough to unseat Mattea there from P1? It looks like it was actually invalidated as it was faster. It was a 2:29.8, but an invalidated lap time will mean that he stays P3.
Yeah, they are just pushing so hard now, as you can see. Invalidations everywhere, but Shins can take the risk. He's already in P3. He can afford to take that risk. He's got his lap time in. Nils needs to set himself invalid very soon, or as experiences, he'll start to be worrying in the cockpit of his car.
And apologies out there if you heard a bark. That was my German Shepherd, which I think fits the theme for today. With all of these German cars, as Alfarano goes P2. Luca there in the GT4 car, putting it on the front row of these GT4 cars, and that's a great lap as well. A 2:30.2.
Yeah, we have a unbelievable race lined up in the GT4 class quite clearly. 3/10 between first and fourth, knowing that Shins has a .8 in there. I don't know. And Jan Oderade is also a very fast driver. I'm surprised he's not a little bit closer to the top guys, so we'll see how this lap is from him now.
Looks like he's actually down on his time a little bit coming through the final chicane. Will he make up any bit of that time? Needs at least a 10th to move ahead of Maximilian there in P5.
Not quite.
No, you're right. Not quite, but it is consistent, which is something that you definitely want around a long lap like this.
And Nils coming across the line now. Let's see how this lap time is. There's his banker, and he's got one lap left according to race control, I believe. So there we go. He's set a lap a second off, and now he's just got to push.
And you know what? I'm quite happy with Neil's decision there to go for it right in the middle of the field. You know, he didn't send it all the way, didn't exceed track limits clearly anywhere, and was able to just get, as you mentioned, a banker lap in. And, you know, that's a decent time still, just a second off the pace.
Very close on track limits. I think he's just okay. If he's not even be slowing down, he's still going. In fairness, Coach, you're making a pretty big assumption. Maybe that is where his pace is at today. Maybe he hasn't got the car hooked up right around here. I'm not sure.
Well, I can tell you he was into the low 230s with the invalidations, so if he's able to find those track limits and keep it all together, should be a good time. And here comes Shins across the line. He's actually improving, and he moves up to P2. He'll be on the front row with Mattea. As it stands right now, as no one else is improving on their time, including this man that you see on screen right now, Niels van der Kokelt.
And has he got traffic now ahead of him on track?
Although Luca's now improving on his time. So keep an eye out for Luca here coming through. Yeah, and he only needs 8/100ths of a second to unseat Shins here. He's up by a couple of tenths. So here he comes through the chicane is Alfarano here. And a very difficult final braking sector here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's unbelievably tough. Let's see how he crosses the line here.
And he does.
P2.
He does it. Luca is able to unseat Shins from P2 as they were battling back and forth. So,
And if you look on the relative quickly now, Curbsy, Nils has just overtaken the car behind him. So he was held up all through that middle sector. He followed him all the way from Les Combes, and that's it, done.
oh, yeah, loses it completely there. So
Validates his lap time and hits the wall in anger, I think, Curbsy.
we'll quickly just replay that if you missed it. That was Neil sending it right into the wall. And it looked like with no regret almost, just spins it and bins it. Looked quite intentional.
Yeah, I think it probably was. And let's run through the GT4 qualifying results, shall we then?
Yeah, there's the GT4 results. That's Karim Mattea there in P1. Luca Alfarano there, P2. Shins will be P3 ahead of Chiesa there in P4. Maximilian P5 ahead of Honorati there in P6. Niels van der Kokelt qualifies P7 after bidding it into the wall. And Scalardi there in P8. Proetti there in P9 ahead of Nicolino. And Valley there in P11. Suardi is ahead of Velazzi, which I believe rounds out all of the GT4 runners.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent-sized gap from first to last. But that top 7 cars all within a second, and us assuming that Niels has more pace, I think we're going to have an unbelievable race. It could be decided by on the track, could be decided by strategy, who knows? But I'm excited for it.
Let me find that 911 car. That's Francesco Fidelibus here in P3 as you see it on the timing tower. Well, that's not really going to matter until they get a lap in here. The 911 car coming through Sector 2. He will be the first one to set a hot lap here in about half a lap's time.
Yeah, and these Porsche GT3 cars are someone that drives a Porsche pretty regularly, they're a different beast on low fuel. With where that fuel tank's placed, you have to run a completely different setup from the race to qualifying, which is unlike any other car. Anything mid-engine, you just take it out. But in these cars, if you take out the fuel, the aero balance shifts considerably, and they are so hard to control, especially in these kind of corners here.
Yeah, there he goes. You can see flat out quite different from the GT4 cars.
Yeah, and as you can see, horrible start to his lap here, I think. Just goes slightly deep into the bus stop. Can you imagine being a GT3, say a second behind a GT4 going into Blanchimont, and they lift?
Oh, yeah.
Really going slower. It's just a recipe for disaster, potentially.
Well, I am now cooking up a recipe for some replays here then. If we're going to see any of that battling going on, I can't wait to use this new functionality that I have in front of me.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff to look at this race, guaranteed.
As here's Francesco going through and setting. Wow, that was very quick through Radeon there.
Yeah, that looked pretty much perfect. Using a lot of the track, maybe a smidgen more possible, but definitely a valid start to the lap for Francesco.
Yeah, so Francesco dropping it in here looks like a pretty good line through here as well. Ooh, a little bit of oversteer there. Was it from Francesco?
Yeah, just a tiny bit. Won't affect him too much. Got on the power nice and early out of Lecom and down here. And he's got to try and hug the apex as much as possible because it will understeer. You can see it's trying to drift out. Gets the tyres to bite back in as the weight shifts to left and powers back out of there well. Looks like a very clean start to the qualifying session. Oh, and that might be valid, might not be. It's right on the borderline there. But looks like a pretty clean start to the lap, assuming it's valid. Bit of oversteer through there. Just so hard to control this car on low fuel, as you can see.
Yeah, and I will save that replay of turns 10 and 11 there because I loved his ability to handle the rear of that car as he's trying to do right here. See, he can battle with the rear of this car. And it looks like he was doing a fine job of it. So if he's using that force feedback wheel, he's going to be getting a lot of that feedback.
Yeah, just really wrestling the car through there. I mean, it's going to sharpen his lap time. Wasn't perfect. There's too many micro corrections. But as we saw from the GT4 qualifying, the value of setting a banker is massive in a 40-minute qualifying session.
Yeah, it's so short. You saw from Niels. You're spot on about that. A driver who we know is very, very quick and was challenging for either the front row or second row, qualified down in P7 because of a few invalidations.
But here, no, that's a much better bus stop than the start of his last lap.
So let's see.
Definitely gained some time about that. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, he comes across the line here and puts it at a 2:17.8, which we don't have much of a measuring stick to just yet. But here comes Morano across the line there. I believe was quickest in the practice sessions, a 2:19. And he's invalidated as well, so that will not hold up.
Yeah, 17.8 straight away in these temps looks like a very, very competitive lap time.
Here comes Ippolito here. Across the line, and will he be able to unseat a few drivers here? No, not just yet. He's about a second and a half, a little bit more than that, off the pace he needs as Brandon Abram throws it up there, P2. The Valache Esports driver that you see right now, the number 15 Porsche, out on track. And no, I will not say Porsche during this race.
Yeah, Brandon, a very good lap again, a good banker, and then decided, nope, we're going to go back in. New set of boots, probably already a couple of tenths down through turn 1, and it's more valuable to him to get fresh tyres on and just go out again rather than wasting an entire 2 minutes 20 seconds doing the whole lap.
Very quickly, I'm going to pop up the replay of Francesco going through the turns I mentioned before, turns 10 and 11, and his ability to get on that power early there through turn 10 really sets him up nicely for turn 11, and the smooth input through turn 11 there is just brilliant. And that was actually right on cue with our driver we're on board with right now as well, James. Perfect.
Yeah, He's a fantastic driver though, because as you can see, he's wrestling the car through there, and he must have maintained such a high minimum apex speed to still be P1 by 3.5 tenths. Like, how much more time is in that lap?
Yeah, it seems like he has a lot to fight with there, so look out for Francesco during the race to really be in contention here, as Leonardo Porco here is really improving on his lap time. Look for him to try and get on the front row from this lap. If he's able to keep it up here, we'll stay on board with this driver as he rounds out the final portion of Sector 3 here. And this is where you had mentioned earlier about staying flat out. You can see hugging the curbs as tightly as possible there. Now it's all a matter of finding that breaking point, and it's quite a difficult yardstick there, isn't it? There's not many markings out on track for you to find that breaking point.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of rubber laid on the track, which you can just about see in these hot, dry conditions. But as you said, it is so difficult to brake properly into there and then get it turned in. You're coming so fast, because Blanchimont in these cars is an easy flat. It's not quite F1 levels of easy flat, but it's an easy flat.
Oh, as there's a driver coming out of the pit. I was wondering if that was going to interfere with Francesco's lap time, as we saw the difference there between the GT4 and the GT3 cars coming through Radeon, as we'll try and pick up the number 68 car out on track. We'll switch over to him as soon as I can find it. There it is. Ippolito here. Go ahead and watch this, James. Isn't this quite dandy from these drivers? The difference between the GT3 and GT4, you can see how much tighter they're able to hug those corners.
Oh yeah, they just swing the car in left and right again, and you don't expect it to stick. But this Porsche has such incredible aero, it just sticks and it flies up there. Assuming you can hit the curb properly on the exit, you can gain so much time by just cutting it slightly. But it's amazing how they can go through their flat.
Let's see right now as Brandon Abrams looking to improve on his lap time. Here he comes, a beautiful camera angle through a Rouge and Radeon there, and seats it brilliantly down the Kemmel straight here.
Yeah, if you want to go on board with Brandon for a little bit of this lap, let's just see how he does compare to Fidelibus through the middle sector. Like, see how smooth those wheel inputs are in comparison. Couple of stabs there, but that's pretty much perfect right now. No real oversteer.
And it looks like it was Brandon's ability to get through Sector 1 quickly that really kept him close to Francesco there in P1 overall. So, yeah, James, it looks like Brandon's got a good chance here at pole if he's able to put together Sectors 2 and 3 nicely, which so far he's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that was absolutely textbook through turns 10 and 11. There's not a single thing wrong with that lap so far. And just balancing the car through there. Same issues as Francesco, but not quite as much. So, I don't know, I think it looks really good so far.
And here he comes. This is a portion of the track where we might see traffic being a huge issue in the races. He's getting a little loosey-goosey there on the rear, but Brandon's able to collect it as the brilliant driver that he is. He's able to hold on to the rear of this Porsche. And coming through the sector where we saw Niels Bennett into the wall.
Yeah, that's flat again in the GT3 car, so again, one braking zone to go. I don't know how his time is. You can maybe tell me more, Curbsy.
He's about on par with where he was on his original qualifying lap, which was a 2:18.1. That's going to be about 3.5 tenths off the pace that he needs. So he really needs a very good chicane here, and it seemed like good braking point there, handled brilliantly on the first entry to the chicane, and the exit is handled brilliantly as well. Maybe a bit of a toe there if he's lucky, and coming across the line, looks like he's not able to improve on his time. It actually was an improvement, apologies for that, but I believe it was an invalidation.
Yeah, it says on the bottom right, lost a couple of tenths, which is interesting, because it looked from the onboards exceptionally good.
It did, I agree.
So if that time's been gained in sector 1 and lost in the middle sector, maybe what we mentioned earlier about the setup was right. He's running that lower wing setup, which even if he starts P2, there's a strong chance he's P1 at the end of the Kemmel straight with the drag that he's going to get and the toe of the car ahead.
And Salvatore Gattuccio here is improving very, very well on his lap time. If he can hold on to this, you might see him jump up into the top 2 rows. And here he comes through Sector 2 right now into Sector 3, and he's holding on to that Porsche brilliantly, as are all of the drivers today. And it goes to show the level of competitiveness that all of these guys have. No matter how far you are down on your first lap, there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely right. I'm hoping that Acione, I'm not sure what happened on his first lap. I can't assume that's like actual pace here. I imagine he's going to be quicker than that.
That would be about my pace, James.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
A little bit squirrely there.
Pace.
Did you see that from Gattuccio? He's got a bit squirrely there coming through the chicane, but let's see. He does move up to P5, so a great improvement from the Italian.
I wonder if what we're seeing here is a little class and a class kind of thing. So the top 4 are such a level ahead right now. 7 tenths up on Gattuccio and P5.
And look at Brandon.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are all within 5 tenths, 6 tenths of each other themselves. So
I'll tell you what, James. Brandon is sending it for pole right now. Here he comes through Blanchimont. Holds it flat out. And coming down towards the final couple of corners here, he's got to hit his braking point perfectly. We'll stay on board with him as you see these smooth inputs. Gets a little bit bumpy over the curb, but that's okay. Needs a good exit here to try and improve. He is up on his lap time. Will it be enough? Coming across the line, he does improve, but it is not enough to match Francesco, who still holds on to P1 so far, and Brandon will be in P2 as it stands. But watch out for Morano here across the line. Oh, he just goes within about 6/100ths of Brandon ahead. So a brilliant lap time from him is not enough to put him on the front row.
yeah, this is remarkable. So the track has got a little bit colder, got a little bit quicker, but they just can't get near Francesco's lap that he set at the very start of the session. Francesco can't improve, and as much as Abraham Morano improved, they just can't quite get to Fidelibus.
And Brandon's on an out lap right now, but looking at the timing table, does he have enough time to get around and get a lap in?
I can't see where he is on track. I think he'll be okay.
He's coming down the Kemmel Straight.
He should be okay, yeah. Should get there with about 10 seconds to spare, I'd guess, with about 30 second first sector.
And welcome everybody out there in the Twitch world. We're doing our best to monitor the chat, but with a qualifying like this, how can we take our eyes off of it? As Leonardo was improving very, very well there, but looks like he lost a bit of pace coming through about turns 12 and 13. As this was one of those classes you were talking about. This is about the back of that front class here in GT3. As Rosetta there in P8 is improving by a large margin. So we'll move over to him shortly, as I believe this is going to be Leonardo improving on his time. Is it enough to unseat Morano? I don't think so just yet, unless he has a brilliant final chicane here. Here he comes, leaving that chicane and getting a little bit squirrely there as well. So across the line, it's not enough to jump Matteo there. As Rosetta, go ahead.
For one more lap, though. I was going to say, does Porker have the fuel for one more attempt with 48 seconds to go in the session? This is his last chance to break into that top 3 as we go back to Rosetta now.
Yeah, Rosetta coming through the chicane. He's up by 5 tenths right now into the chicane. So look for him. He's trying to get up to P5 right now. Can he do it? Coming across the line is Rosetta and does move into P5. A great lap from Alex there.
Yeah, outstanding. Just taking the lead in what we're unofficially calling the second set of the GT3 cars. Oh, Morano nearly takes pole.
By 3/100ths of a second, James. This race is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, we're going to have action up and down the field. GT3s, GT4s, anyone could win here. I can't wait for the race to get started.
And here's Salvatore. He's coming through as well, trying to improve on his time, and not only is he trying, he's doing it, but so is the driver behind him on the standings, but in front on track right now is Ippolito here. He's trying to improve on his time, and he's doing just fine at that. He has a chance at the top 5 overall in qualifying. So look at this Porsche driver, just like everybody else. There you go. There's my last Porsche of the day. It is Porsche from here on out. And Ippolito here coming down to the chicane. What's he going to post for his time. He's 5/10 up right now. So not only is he trying to get P5, he's trying to get P4. Can he do it? He's 7/10 up now. A brilliant chicane from this driver coming across the line. Let's see where he goes. 7/10 off the pace, but a P5. What a brilliant lap.
Yeah, really separates himself from that P6 position and up there with the top 4. So he's going to feel like he's got a good chance going into this race. Again, it's so decided by traffic that anyone could do anything this race. As Salvatore comes across the line now, what's he going to set? Ooh, P6. Good lap time, 2:18.8 as well.
A great lap time, absolutely. No doubt about that. It looks like qualifying's rounding out here. Let's take a look. Salvatore Acione is improving on his time, but he's 5 seconds off the pace right now, so I don't know if that's going to hold up. As he's coming through, I think he's still on a hot lap here. No,
he's definitely done now.
Yep.
We've got Morano and Abraham. They're the guys to watch right now.
Yeah, here comes Brandon Abraham here. He's just behind Morano there, but neither of them are improving on their lap times. They're about steady with where they are.
It's just all he needs is 300 through this last 2 corners, though. That's all he needs to try and take pole. Doesn't look perfect on exit, but it looked really good on entry. What's it going to be across the line?
Oof.
And lost a 10th in the final 2 corners.
Oh, look out for the Vlache Esports driver as he's coming down to the wire here. He is up by about 2/10 and coming across the line. It's not enough. Ooh. And he just holds out a little bit there. So stay tuned for the quick qualifying list is going to be Francesco in P1 and Matteo in P2. And I believe we're going to have... Apologies for that. We're going to have Brandon in P3, Leonardo P4, Fulvio Ippolito in P5, Salvatore Gattuccio in P6, Alex Rosetta P7, Tommaso Franceschina in P8, Matteo Ignoni in P9, and Alessandro Trabucco rounding out the top 10. We'll quickly hear a word from our track guide, brought to you by none other than James Warren. So I'll pop that up for us, and hopefully James can see this as I pop it up. It might be a little bit delayed there, James, so I can take it over if you'd like.
A little bit delayed, so you give it a go for us, Curtis, please.
All right, yeah, no worries. As we have Christian Bianchi here coming down to the first corner, and you see his braking point there, spot on, coming through the apex brilliantly, and really accelerating that Porsche towards Eau Rouge there. And you know what, James? I mentioned it in qualifying, one of the most brilliant corners in all of motorsport. And there he goes through Radillon. And you can see he takes a little bit of the curve there on entry and exit. That's exactly how you want to do it in those GT3 cars. The GT4 will not be as easy. They are quite difficult to drive through here. But when you're really able to stick down those rubbers on this circuit, you can get a great lap time in, which we saw there in qualifying. And coming through Les Combes here is Christian Bianchi, giving us a nice tour of this beautiful circuit and wrapping it down towards turns 10 and 11 here. You can see the driver who I believe is not in the race today is Christian Bianchi, unfortunately, but no worries about that. He's still showing us what he can do. Gets a little bit squirrely there, coming through turn 11 down towards turn 12 and trying to hold on the best that he possibly can through Pouillon. You can see, James, it just kind of slides all over the track, doesn't it, these GT3 cars? But when you're able to control the rear, it seems like you can get anywhere with them.
Oh yeah, this Porsche is so unique in that sense that it's quickest. It looks like he's overdriving there again. Big oversteer moment. But the rear grips up, he can get on the power, and this will be a quick line as we lap time we saw from the pole sitter.
Yeah, it is a great lap from Christian Bianchi here, and the pace is just brilliant. As I'm switching over now, with just a little bit to go, we can see him go flat out here. Take a look at the RPMs and listen to it. You can hear the revs go through, doesn't lift at all, and straight through Blanchimont. He's got to get down to this braking point, and it's the most important portion of this track to have a great lap time and a very popular overtaking opportunity if you're into some dive bombs. There he goes through the final chicane there and coming across the line. The tour is over, but the race is just beginning. We'll switch over to our final qualifying order right now in this Stuttgart Unleashed race brought to you by Racing Line Motorsport. Francesco Fidelibus there in P1 ahead of Matteo Morano in P2. Brandon Abraham in P3 ahead of Leonardo Porco there in P4. Fulvio Ippolito there in P5 ahead of Salvatore Gattuccio in P6. Alex Rosetta puts it P7 ahead of Tommaso Francescina there, and Matteo Agnoni there in P9. Alessandro Trabucco there in P10. He'll be ahead of Armiento Antonio and Emmanuel Rodriguez. Salvatore Acione is ahead of the last runner for the GT3 cars, Andre Ramirez. And now, James, are you comfortable taking us through the GT4 cars?
Absolutely. In P1, we've got Karen Mattea with an outstanding lap time from him. Then in P2, we've got Luca Alfarano, followed swiftly by the German Marek Schins in that beautiful livery. Let me just say one more time. And P18 is Davide Chiesa. P19, Maximilian. P20, we've got Jan Onorati, who I think is quicker than that, as is Niels van der Kokhout in P21. I reckon they're both going to be up there fighting with Shins, Chiesa, Mattea, Maximilian come race time. I think those qualifying positions are a little bit away from where their true pace is. P22, Scolari. Not Kevin Scolari, who is in the chat right now, as a K Scolari implies. Or maybe it is the same person. I'm not sure. Then we've got Proietti, Nicolini, and then to round off Valli, Swadi, and Velazzi. I am so excited for this. Who's your money on for the race results? Who's going to win?
You know what? For the GT4 class, why not? I'm going to toss it all down on Niels. Give me that plus 500 for Niels to take the victory here in that GT4 class. Yeah, he qualified way off the pace there, but coming through the first couple of corners here, it's really up for grabs, isn't it? Now, in the GT3 class, that pace we saw from Francesco was absolutely brilliant in qualifying, as it was from every other driver there. But you know what? Why not toss it on Brandon Abraham here with a great lap that he posted in qualifying, and we know the race pace is also there for the number 15 car.
Yeah, I don't hate those bets. I think Niels, obviously, you commentate Niels on the weekly basis in PPR's league, so you know how good he can be as the formation lap sets off now. But having raced against a few people, I think Marek Shins has that experience that even if he's a couple of tenths off Matteo and Alfarano on pure race pace, I wouldn't be shocked if he brought it back with an undercut in the pits potentially, or more experience with the GT3 traffic. So I think Marek Shins is going to be the one to beat in the GT4 category today, and then you can't really go away from that top three in the GT3. It could be any one of them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And, you know, it is all about racecraft, isn't it? Yeah, qualifying's important, but on a track like this, overtaking opportunities will be robust. And I think we're going to see quite a few overtakes. And quickly, I'll just mention the rules. If you're wondering out there in the chat world, what are the pit stop rules for today? Well, there's a mandatory pit stop, and it's going to be made during a designated 20-minute pit window.
Actually, I've just been told by race control the pit window has been removed for today's race. Which, well, personally, I think is great. If you get an instant lap 1, you can pit now, fix your damage, and if you can save that fuel, you might be able to go to the end and not have to use an entire extra pit stop. So, pit window is gone. Complete freedom of choice there.
Well, good to know. Pit window is gone. However, there's still no restrictions on the strategy or additional stops as far as I'm aware, unless you've heard any different from race control that I know you're tuned in with during this entire race.
I think it's fair game on strategy. Again, I will be shocked if tyres weren't taken with a 39-degree track, but you never know. If someone's struggling, not take tyres, gain up to 20 seconds in the pit stop potentially. There's a huge advantage there. Is that track position going to be valuable enough come the race end? I don't know. You don't know, and it's something we're going to have to find out over the next 90 minutes of racing.
Yeah, we can say all we want here. We can say who we think's going to win, but all of a sudden, you know, we could have a first lap incident that really sends everybody into a fritz, and who knows what's going to happen. But let me give some airtime to the guys towards the back here. It's going to be hard, but I'll do my best to pay attention to both of the leaderboards there. And James, if you can keep me focused, that we have two different classes today, GT3 and GT4.
Absolutely. Too many broadcasters don't give the GT4s the love they deserve, but the racing in these is phenomenal. You can go side by side, as we saw at the start of qualifying with Shins and Niels. You can go side by
That
side.
was
with
fun.
GT4, and it's great.
That was some of the best racing I've seen in many, many races that I've done for ACC, and it was during the qualifying session.
Yeah, that's just those two drivers, isn't it? They know how to place their car public. Maybe they knew they were on stream and they just want to give us a show. Who knows?
Well, brilliant from them. And let's look at some of these liveries coming through. All beautiful, but there it is. The black and gold once again makes an appearance there. I believe that's Sergio Suardi there in that portion. It's just a beautiful livery, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I might have to hope they get the win, actually. I know it's unlikely starting right at the back of the GT4 class, but I want to see that livery cross the line first.
Beautiful. We see a few guys out in chat rooting for some drivers out here today. And none other than somebody who has a brilliant livery. One that kind of went under the radar, didn't it? Armiento Antonio here with a phenomenal livery. Take a look at this.
That's outstanding. Mad Max on the license plate at the back. This is why not many people do custom liveries, but when they look that good, how could you be against custom liveries? Sure, they bring a little bit of lag at the start. It's inconvenient. But for everyone watching at home, they look so good. As we're just going to go on board with this car before the race begins, I think.
And here comes the race start. We'll take a look at the liveries as the race gets underway here. Here goes Francesco Fidelibus. We're still under red flag. He's going to control the pace here now. And, oh, look at that. It's going to be Morano there trying to get across the line before him. We're still in red flag conditions right now. It's still under the formation lap. And I believe we'll get underway just as soon as we get around the corner here.
Yeah, we'll get underway just at the bottom of Eau Rouge. It's weird because the lap time delta is there, but they won't get underway for a little bit now. Just at the bottom of Eau Rouge. So it's great, but there'll be some side-by-side action in the mid-pack, I almost guarantee it, as we go up the hill.
And here goes Francesco Fidelibus here. He's going to be the leader at the start. Will he be the leader at the end of the first lap? Well, stay tuned and find out here as we are just about underway for what should be a brilliant 90-minute race here. And there it is, a green light. They are underway, and Francesco gets away well. You can see Brandon slotting in behind Morano there. A good start from these GT3 drivers. Look how clean they are as they're getting side by side going up the hill there, just behind the leaders. Let's take a look what's going on in the GT4 class. It looks like they're all very steady back here, but look at all the overtakes that are being completed already. What a start to this race, but it was so clean.
And we've got a side-by-side into top of turn one. Fidelibus, who's he going? Was it Morano on the outside?
It was
there?
Morano.
Position. Outstanding race and hugs the inside. If you want to get past me, go the long way around, but it isn't happening there on lap one on cold tyres. Great racing from Francesco. And now he's going to try and build a gap, hopefully, and see if the cars behind can stick with him.
And they'll move down here. Here's the leader of the GT4 class right now. It's actually Alfarano ahead there. He was able to get ahead of Matea, so a good start from him. Niels did move up one position. It looked like somebody dropped down a little bit. Not sure exactly who that was, as Alfarano will be the leader of the GT4 class so far. And I believe the battle we saw going up the hill there into Radillon was Gattuccio and maybe Francescina there behind, or was it Leonardo in front there? Oh, and it looks like there's a battle right now for P3 between Brandon Abraham and Leonardo Porco there. Let's see what's going on as we get the right camera angle. There they go. Still battling it out. You can see Brandon taking it up the inside there, and it looked like Gattuccio was trying to sneak up the inside of Porco there, but wasn't able to find the spot. And Brandon looks like he's going to be released to chase after Morano there, but this battle is far from over.
Just sensational racing from both drivers there. Too wide all the way through the middle sector. Gattuccio stuck his nose in there. Door slammed well and truly shut by Porco behind. And now he's in the slipstream, probably close enough to go for a little dive fit. Look at the run of Gattuccio on the back as well. Running less aero, it seems. Sends it up the inside, does he? Is there going to be contact here? Oh, round the outside is Ippolito, I think, taking the
Wow, what an opportunistic moment from Ippolito there. That was a great overtake. As here's the GT4 cars coming through the same spot where we saw an overtake. It looks like Niels was going up the inside. Yeah, that was Niels going right up the inside there and was able to get around the 222 car. And that is Chiesa. Good luck getting past him as he's fighting back into turn one. What are we going to see here? It looks like he has the right track position for an overtake here and has it done, but will it be done just yet into Eau Rouge? Well, let's find out.
Outstanding racing from Chiesa. Got beaten, but he had the inside line for turn 1 crucially. And now Nils to follow through here, which is difficult enough without a car in your face. Oh, and look at the speed difference as he flies through Ocean Rally on huge chance of an overtake here, but he got the run on him.
That was brilliant from those drivers. Taking a look up the leaderboards here, Matteo Morano is definitely up on his time as Acione picks up a stop-go 10-second penalty there down in P13. That will not bode well for his race.
I think right now, if you want to go on board with Niels quickly, Niels and Davide are all over each other going through Les Combes right now. Up the inside, does the space get left just about? And I don't know why to look. There's action absolutely everywhere right now, Curbsy.
Yeah, this is one of those best of luck to the commentators here. We're trying to find the battles to bring you. And let's take a look as well. There's the leader of the GT4 class, just a few slots ahead of this battle going on. But look at this battle between Kevin Scolari here and Jan Onorati, as well as Maximilian there.
Oh yeah, and Maximilian and Scolari both lost out on the... Sorry, Maximilian and Onorati both lost out on the start then to Niels and to Scolari. So they're now going to be held up by that car ahead of them and just trying to get past and catch back up as that leading front four in the GT4 class.
And there's the battle right now for P6 between Salvatore Gattuccio and Tommaso Franceschina here. I believe teammates, as they're running the same livery. They are as close as they could possibly be. Davide Chiesa here is still... He actually managed to get past Niels. Apology for just missing that. Managed to get through Niels there, and Niels was battling back, trying to get that position as they were side by side for a little bit, according to the map.
Well, this is just brilliant from these two guys. They won't want to lose touch with the guys ahead. They're staying within the slipstream of Shins. But this racing is so, so good to watch right now. You got to think Niels might make an attempt to round the outside of the bus stop. Does he get it slowed down?
But that becomes the inside corner, doesn't it, James? Look at him. He's going to send it up the inside and now wants to close off the inside position into turn 1, which is where he lost his position just a lap ago.
Unbelievable move. Unbelievable. It's so hard to go on the outside there. Davide Chiesa did everything right. Covered the inside, forces Niels the long way around. It doesn't mean anything to Niels. Sends it around the outside, gets it slowed down, and just secures the position. Great driving. As we now go back to the GT3 battle of Abraham and Porco.
Yeah, this is quite a battle heating up between these two drivers. We saw them a few laps ago battling. Well, they're still going at it here. Are the two drivers. Obviously, everybody in a Porsche today, the GT3s and the GT4s are out there. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. The pace that we have, it doesn't matter what car you put them in. They're going to be absolutely flying. As it appears, Acione did take his stop-go penalty right now, so you can see him dropping behind all of the GT4 cars.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised at Abraham's pace right now. Maybe that's just me, but in qualifying, he was right there with Francesco and Morano.
Oh, and is that going to be a dive up the inside? No, not quite. Go ahead with what you were saying there, James.
He is being hounded by Porco, who is clearly quicker. Maybe it's strategy. Maybe Abraham's on higher fuel load. But his pace just isn't there on race fuel compared to his coin laps that he was putting in. It's really, really bizarre.
Yeah, his best lap time so far, his being Brandon, has set a 2:19.7, and Leonardo behind set a 2:19.5, which is actually quicker than Francesco. But the fastest lap of the day so far, as they're going side by side there, was set by Matteo Morano there. And look at this battle going on for P3 overall right now.
Yeah, this is just incredible, incredible driving. Abraham is defending for his life. Where's Porco going to get past him? It's not going to be there because he can't get the run through Blanchimont. You start to run out of places pretty quickly. You saw he sent it up the inside earlier. Oh, and Niels on Marek Shins now, making his way through the field.
Yeah, Shins, who's sitting in P3 right now for the GT4 class, is being absolutely hounded by Niels.
Side by side through here when they've both got a lift is going to be interesting. Do they manage it? Oh, unbelievable race, and they do manage to get it to stick. And this should be Niels' position to lose now on the inside. Yeah, easily done as soon as he gets it slowed down in time. A great move.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move by Niels there. And looking ahead, he now has to chase down Mattia and Alfarano, but they've both been very quick, actually quicker than Niels on track. It looked like Shins actually messed up somewhere on that lap as he's about 2 seconds off the pace there. As I apologize, it looks like up front, Morano was able to get past Fidelibus here.
I mean, there's so much going on in this race. Everywhere we look, there's an overtake happening. It is genuinely incredible. And will Morano be able to drive away now from Fidelibus? Potentially. Looks like he's got the pace. Already gained a gap of 5-6 tenths per second.
And I want to quickly apologize, James. It looks like there's a little bit of a lag issue with the server right now. So that is going to be server side that you're seeing. So if there's any collisions out on track right now, well, I think they'll have a good case at blaming it on the ping.
Absolutely, right? Any excuse a driver has when causing a crash, they'll use. So, ping or not ping, they'll say there was ping.
Look at this battle going on. This is Tommaso Francescina here, I believe, is leading this battle ahead of Rosetta and Trabucco there, who you see coming through in single file order there. And there's that brilliant livery just behind. I want to take a look at it one more time. Armiento Antonio here being hunted down by Gnoni. Oh, and he's holding it on and making it stick there. But look at this battle. This is not over just yet, is it either? As I have many drivers on the Deltas right now within about 4 tenths of each other.
Yeah, the last thing we want to see is this beautiful livery get overtaken, but...
Oh, and there's a little bit of a tap there. A little bit of a tap there from Gnoni, and it looked like he knew that there was contact and kind of backed out of it a little bit. As we know, these drivers are very clean, James.
I thought he was in the wall. Going through there at that speed in this car, if the back end goes like that, it is so difficult to catch. That is incredible driving.
As here's Matteo Morano is going to be the race leader right now, ahead of Fidelibus there, and you can see them coming through Radillon just brilliantly.
Yeah, this is a really good run. I'll be surprised if Morano can keep this position here. We'll cover off the inside as Fidelibus comes all the way up. Look at the slipstream. Just, I guess, alongside, running pretty high error, I think, not to make that move easier. And well covered off me and from the car ahead.
Yeah, good defense, but this defending is allowing Brandon and Porco to catch up, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but that was an amazing run that the car behind got on Morano. And he still wasn't enough to pull ahead into the braking zone. He was still only about half a car to the long side, which tells me that there's no way they're running the same setups, because he should have been easily able to get alongside, maybe a little bit even further ahead of him with the run he had, less than a tenth out behind him at the end of Eau Rouge and Radillon.
And looking around right now, yes, if you're wondering, there's still battling going on. It's Marek Shins here being hunted down by Jan Honorado here, or Honorati, who is just ahead of Davide Chiesa here. So look at this run coming down the Kemmel Straight. It looks like both drivers might have a chance of getting through here. What's going to happen as they head down towards Les Combes? Do you think that's enough pace from Chiesa? It looks like it. Oh, not quite. It looks like it's going to be shut off by Shins there. A pretty good defensive line that he has. But that was Honorati getting through.
Shins is just going backwards now. Started really well. Put it top 4 on the grid. Was looking really promising. And Nils has got past him and gapped him pretty substantially. And now he's under huge pressure from the guys behind. He's just lost another position. So not ideal start from Marek Shins in this race.
Look at this run from Trabucco on Tommaso here. Here they come. They're going to go side by side here. And it looks like he's trying to sneak his way up just past the headrest there. He can't do it, and they make contact.
No.
That's going to be a huge collision from 2 of the GT3 drivers. And there you see Antonio trying to get his way through. And there's Gnoni getting through as they just wrecked a lap ago. Well, these 2 drivers make contact. And I wonder if there's going to be any significant damage there, James.
I mean, he is so lucky to avoid the wall on the exit of Blanchimont. It'll be damage. You'll definitely feel it. But that could have been race ending.
And you see a little bit of a flash there from Trabucco behind. Was that him saying, hey, that's on you? Or is that, I apologize, that's on me?
I don't know many drivers that use their flash as a signal of apologize, and they're not that flight normally. I'm pretty sure that's like, what are you doing? You've turned across me. You've given us both damage.
Ooh, look at this battle going on for P1 right now. It's going to be Brandon trying to sneak it up the inside of Fidelibus as Fidelibus is trying to go around the outside of Morano here. It's going to be almost 3 wide going into Les Combes. They actually all back out of it. Nobody wanted to send it there, and Ayrton Senna would be very upset with all of these drivers.
Oh, Abraham around the outside. Is he going to sneak into P2? I think he's just about got ahead. Yeah, he has covered the inside well. And 5-10 minutes ago, I was saying Abraham's just dropping backwards. He's now in P2. 2 tenths behind the leader, Morano, who might be now hoping, okay, maybe I can get some respite because I should be quicker than the Veloce Esports car behind me.
So Murano, that we hear from the engineers in chat, is running a lower wing here. So that will definitely help him through this middle sector, I believe.
Yeah, Morano has to have lowering, as Kevin Siclari just mentioned in the chat. He's one of the quickest drivers out there in this game. If he said he's running low wing, Kevin, he's running low wing. And that's going to be enough to... He'll be dragging this train through the middle sectors, we can see. And then just hoping he's got enough in a straight line to stay ahead up the Camel Straight.
James, in my experience with ACC racing, you would expect this to be a battle going on for about, I don't know, P8? This is the battle for P1 right now. All of these drivers showing consistent pace in the 219s are their fastest laps, all running about the 220 race pace. And these are just phenomenal drivers. Look at them as they come through single fire through Blanchimont here, down towards the chicane. Look at this. Is this going to be a send up the outside of Brandon? He's really going to have to close the door here through the final order of the chicane, and they make contact! Contact between Fidelibus and Abraham, and what's your analysis of that, James?
It was so inevitable. When the guy he got round the outside into the first past the part of the bus stop, you just knew he was going to stick his nose there. He sees yellow on the radar and thinks he's entitled to space, but Brandon's right. That guy's nowhere near alongside. I'm going to turn in. It's one of those, well, if you turn in, we're going to crash, and they crashed. We're going to have to see what the stewards say about that, but I've got a feeling it's going to be a penalty, and Abraham's going to be pretty unhappy.
The stewards will definitely take a look at that, and they'll also take a look at a battle that occurred between these two drivers, and they're going at it again. Neither driver giving each other an inch here as they head through Eau Rouge to Radeon. And there they go. They're going to be just behind each other. Let me quickly replay that earlier collision between these two drivers. These are the drivers that you just saw out on track. This was their collision earlier. You can see that's Trabuco there sending it up the inside as Tommaso just closes the door. They make contact. Both manage to stay out of the wall, and they allow Agnoni and Antonio through. And back to the racing here. It's still Tommaso in front of Trabuco.
I mean, yeah, I'm not a steward here, so I hope the stewards don't kill, but I think he's allowed to close the door there. The guy behind's got to think, this move isn't happening. I'm not anywhere near alongside. He just tags him. It's pretty clear blame in my eyes. And that's the exact same as the Abraham. It's the car behind has to know that he's not alongside and can't make the move there. It just, yeah, I think a penalty is almost guaranteed.
And you almost have to be gutted for Brandon Abraham at this point. If he picked up any damage, that would just be salt in the wound, as he was clearly battling for the lead of this race, and now he's down in P4 and about 7 seconds off of the lead. And I'll go back to the battle going on for P1 overall in the silver class. It's going to be Alfarano is about 2 seconds clear there of Matea, but Matea is now being hunted down by none other than Niels van de Kokelt. Almost like the protagonist of this GT4 class.
The guy you predicted before the race, and I was like, no, Shins has the pace, Shins has the pace. How wrong was I so far? An outstanding drive from Niels. And just back to Brandon, the GT3 class, even if he hasn't got damage, you see him defending pretty hard there into the bus stop from
Oh no, flashbacks.
Flashbacks, and this time he leaves the space. He doesn't have to, but he's learnt his lesson. These guys are going to stick their nose in and try their best to get past. And in one sense, can you blame him?
Yeah, apologies here. I'm just taking a look.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder now, is it damage that's going to be affecting Brandon's pace? Or is it because, from my experience racing, when I'm out on track and I get a little incident like that, your rhythm completely goes. You're now sitting behind that wheel, angry, frustrated. And that could just be in part due to the explanation of the loss of pace. It might not just be the damage. It might take 2-3 laps for him to get his head back down and regain that lap time.
So 7 laps completed so far, just about 17 minutes into this race here, as Brandon Abraham went from battling for P1 to defending P4 in about a lap and a half. Taking a look at the battle going on back here for P2 overall, or I'm sorry, P2 for the GT4 class, that is going to be Matea defending from Niels van de Kokelt, and Niels is trying to close in here. Niels does not have the fastest lap time out of those GT4 drivers. That title currently is held by Luca Alfarado there, running P1 overall in the GT4 class.
Yeah, that gap stabilised. At the start of the race, he pulled out a couple of second gap, and it just hasn't really changed since then. So it makes you wonder if he's just managing this gap, very much what Lewis Hamilton does in the F1. He just gets the lead and goes, I'll just keep them guys 2-3 seconds behind me this entire stint. Just race within yourself. No need to push so hard when you're in the lead of the race. Just keep it between the white lines and get to the race finish.
If you are ever being compared to Lewis Hamilton, you are doing something right.
Absolutely. Although I hope his blue flag etiquette is better than today.
And here goes Leonardo Porco defending from Fidelibus here, who was involved in that incident in this same exact corner just a couple laps ago that I will not stop talking about for the duration of this race, because I think it is very significant for what may be the final results. I know we still have an hour and 10 minutes to go, which is a ton of time, but you figure you could only make up so much time each lap when all of these drivers are so close in their skill level.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing is going to be for Fidelibus is a penalty coming. We've got live stewarding for this race, and I would not be shocked if they've seen that and they're looking at the replays now and they're trying to decide if that's a racing incident or is that a penalty. Because if it was a penalty, it's going to be a pretty big one because of the time that he's gained and the position that he's gained. So we're going to have to wait and see.
And look at Rosetta defending from Ippolito here. They're going to be going down the Kemmel Straight here, and you know what? Ippolito might have a great run coming down here as he's going to be tucked in behind that Porsche, in his own Porsche, but running separate liveries there as Ippolito tries to send it up the inside into Lecombe, and he will have that position done if he's on the braking line. It looks like he was, and a brilliant overtake from Ippolito there.
Yeah, great move. Rosetta knows, I think, it's not what at this stage in the race, an hour and 10 minutes to go. Time is the most important thing, so don't lose time by battling too hard. Give him the inside and just tuck it and try and stick in his slipstream.
And look at this. Fidelibus got past Leonardo there.
Oh wow, we totally missed that looking at another overtake. Through that portion of the track, I wonder if it was a mistake made.
I feel that it had to be. As I was paying attention to the deltas, I didn't notice them going into the red at all, as here is Shins chasing down Chiesa here, who lost his position earlier to Davide and is now trying to fight back for that.
Yeah, just find some pace. I've been watching the relatives there. They've been about a second gap, then half a second. He's slowly gaining, but I don't think it's by much per lap. And Neil's now only 6/10 behind Mattea, who is also catching Alfarado in the lead of the GT4 class.
And look at this right now. We'll stay on board with Shins through Eau Rouge here, as he will be tucked in behind Chiesa. And I see out there in chat, Kevin, yeah, you might be right about that, running a little bit of a different strategy here. Is there a possibility for Shins? As we know he's a quick driver and didn't seem to make any mistakes here. Although, look at this. This is going to be Mattea defending from Niels. And Niels is trying to get through on Mattea there, but just can't find enough room, and brilliant defensive maneuvers from Karim Mattea.
Yeah, Kevin's totally right. They could possibly have a full tank of fuel. I don't know the tyre wear in a 90-minute race around Spa on this track temperature. So is that going to completely kill his tyres towards the end? Or is that the best way around here? Because the cars ahead are now flying away. The top three are in a league of their own at this point. Presumably on lower fuel with how easy they got past in the straights.
And you know what? They are coming up on the GT4 cars, aren't they? So with that being the case right now, and those GT4 cars battling, we could see some interesting laps being set here.
Oh yeah, and what a horrible place to start to catch him from Morano. Just as we go into the middle sector. The one place you don't want to be behind is he approaches the car with the nicest livery on the grid. That lovely black and gold GT4 Porsche. And now he's going to follow. Now is he going to get past there? Oh, just about. Not sure what the car ahead was doing there.
He didn't move out of the racing line, did he?
Doesn't have to. Does not have to move off the racing line in these GT4s. It's the safest way of doing it. They stay on the racing line and hope the cars behind can avoid them. So through here, look at the difference in speed. He's going to go around the outside of him. Ooh, that's going to be scary for the GT4.
Wow, that was thrilling to watch there, wasn't it? As now the Deltas are going to get a little bit confused here. Apologies for that. They will be a little bit confused here as these drivers are coming through some lap traffic, so apologies if I frantically switch over to somebody who I think is overtaking here. And that was not a mistake there. It was Niels getting through Mattia for P2 in the GT4 class. And you know what? Can I take that plus 500 bet for Niels to be hunting down Alfarano here for P1 overall in the GT4 class?
He looks very quick. One thing we know from Niels and his experience racing with PTR, he hates full tank and not taking tyres. He is almost guaranteed to be splitting his fuel in half and taking tyres this race. So it's just the question is that what everyone else is doing? Why is he so much quicker now than in qualifying? It's incredible the pace he's showing so far.
And it looks like Chiesa is coming through the pit area there with Shin still right on his tail. Look at this battle that's been going on for quite a few laps already. Does Shins have enough of a run here on Chiesa to get through, or is he just going to manage his pace to the driver in front? Can he get any closer, I wonder, as they head down towards Les Combes? What a brilliant battle between these two, and it's going to get a bit squirrely there. A bit squirrely is it for Chiesa, and Shins doesn't have to make much of an overtake, does he?
Oh, a huge mistake from Davide. He had the position defended. Shins does not have the straight line speed to get past him quite clearly. All Chiesa got to do is stick on the racing line and defend. He just runs in too deep, gets on the curb and spins it as we watch another battle now with Rosata. Coming on the outside until they come. Is he going to hold the position? Not quite. Good defend on the inside.
Was that Rosetta losing that position there to Trabuco?
No, I think he's trying to get
Oh, that was
back far.
Ippolito. I apologize. That's Ippolito there just in front of Rosetta.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. I'll quickly bring up that replay of that crash that just occurred with Chiesa here. This was Shins chasing him down towards Les Combes. And as I'm 24 minutes or so into this race, I'm learning all the different camera angles on Spa. And there he is, just losing it a bit into that corner, and a brilliant camera angle there, fortunately enough. And you can see there wasn't any collision there. It was just a mistake made by Chiesa. Do you think that was him trying to over-defend that position?
It's just because he's on the inside line there, your braking distance is increased, and your normal reference point of the curb on the left is suddenly gone. You can't see that. I think he's just gone in way too deep, and he's over-rotated the car trying to get it turned in still. And it's just caused the back end to go.
And here's Rosetta still chasing down Ippolito here in front. Look at this battle going on. Is this going to be another one through Blanchimont? As it looks like they're just far enough that I don't believe there will be any form of a dive by Rosetta here. And there he is through Blanchimont. Both cars flat out. But look at this run that Rosetta's going to have here behind Ippolito. Is he going to try and send it to the chicane? He's not. He's just going to stay and hold his distance to the driver in front there. Keeps the rubber planted. And another brilliant lap by these drivers, as it's going to be Matteo Morano will be boxing. So that allows Fidelibus to take the lead of this race, and Morano will take his mandatory pit stop just 25 minutes into this race.
Wow, that's an early stop. I was expecting cars to be in the box with about 45 minutes to go, take your fuel, take your tyres and get out again. But 25 minutes in, is that a sign that he was running incredibly low fuel?
Did he
Or does he
even
force the other drivers into a decision and take the massive undercut here?
apologize? They pit on this side, don't they? I'm used to the Formula One side of the circuit. Apologies to everybody out there watching. That is where I come from. And here goes Morano into the pit here. So Leonardo Porco actually just got past Fidelibus. So just missed that. So Leonardo will be the leader for this race. And that will be a GT4 car just behind them, as Brandon Abraham's just behind that GT4 car. And Leonardo Porco is going to be the leader now.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal. Who'd have thought this at the start? The P4 car up into P1 right now, and he showed the best pace for one. He was quicker than Abraham, who's now starting to catch up slowly. Clearly quicker than Francesco. And now the decision is for these guys. Do they box now and try and match Morano, or do they just run their own race and accept that he'll be on fresh tyres and will likely have a position they're going to go hunt him out in the end? We'll likely find out this lap.
Well, in this form of racing where you still have an hour to go, I think you just have to...
Sorry, there, just completely killed him. Caught the GT4 at the wrong time. He has lost the position to Fidelibus, who's got straight past him again. that GT4 car at the worst possible moment.
I'm trying to figure out exactly who that was. Was that... It was not Scolari there. Was it Maximilian? So Vettel Maximilian there was involved with the front runners of this race. Really no fault, I don't think, right? He was, you know, on the racing line.
No,
How
this
does
is
the race?
in the racing line. There is nowhere worse to catch a car than when you're going flat through a corner and they're not.
So here's Morano. Look at the clean air that he has in front of him now. Nobody to overtake on the track for quite some margin. And was this a masterclass done by Matteo Morano?
That seemed like a very, very long pit stop.
Did seem like a long pit stop. You're right. This is about...
Kevin Scolari, where's the Porco in comparison to this?
So Porco right now, who's actually just overtaken by Fidelibus. Or no, that was the overtake back. Yeah. I apologize. That was the overtake before Blanchimont there. So Porco right now is not too far off. You can see the number 95 car that you see on the map right there is going to be Matteo Morano. He's coming down towards turn 12 right now. As these drivers are coming through Lake Combe, he will be quicker than them, you would assume, unless he has too much fuel, in which case they might catch him quickly here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, and Kevin Scolari just said in the chat that Morano made a mistake and damaged the car, and that is what forced the early pit stop, and that's why the pit stop would have been longer. We missed out. The car didn't look that damaged as we saw it going into the pit lane. I still didn't notice it, but Morano apparently had big damage from a crash, had to pit early, and that completely compromised his race.
And here is the leader from the GT4 class. That's Alfarano, and that car you see behind him, well, that's a GT3 car, so not going to matter much for his end race results, but this will matter. Niels is only about a second and a half off of Luca Alfarano there, so Niels is doing his damnedest to catch that GT4 class driver, and Salvatore Acione is the one trying to sneak through. I believe Salvatore had an earlier stop-go penalty.
Yeah, but Salvio's lap time's 2:25s. He is gaining all of that time in the straights because of the GT3 power, as you can see here. But lap times, that's what I mean. He is really struggling through the corners. So whatever it is, I'm just not familiar with the car or the track combination. But he is a real struggle to be following.
Look at this battle. Leonardo closing in, but they're going to put a GT4 car between the two of them, and that will hamper Porco's ability to catch the leader of this race. But you can see the GT4 car kind of took the a little bit of an accelerated line to the corner there and wanted to get out of the way, it seemed.
Yeah, I'm just getting up. On average here at this track, you're going to lose 90 seconds, or 89 seconds, but it's like for a 30-second tyre change pit stop. So that's what we're going to need to monitor the gap between Morano and the leaders. If it's within 90 seconds, you'd think Morano will stay in the lead of the race whenever all the pit stops shake out. So that's what we're going to be paying attention to. But right now, it certainly looks like a gap that's bigger than 90 seconds, and he will not be in the lead of this race.
I see Forza Ramirez in chat there. So there he is, running his own race in P12 right now, just behind Rodriguez there, who's about a half a lap in front, or about a quarter lap in front of the driver here. And since there's some fans in chat, we'll always switch over to who you guys want to see. And right now, you're going to want to see the battle for P1. It is Fidelibus and Porco. It's been heating up for a few laps, and here they are, just within a tenth of each other are the two Porsches here. And there's a GT4 again, James. As the drivers are doing their own talking here, James, these GT4s are really coming into play, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the biggest difference. If you're in an endurance race with multi-class, even a 90 race, but an endurance race, you win the race by how long you spend the pit stops and how you deal with the lower class traffic, because it is such a lottery, complete lottery where you're going to catch. Is he going to set the inside here? No, he's not. But yeah, that's really dictating this race so far. The overtaking opportunities have come as a result of GT4s, as Antonio is still keeping Noni behind him.
Yeah, this battle has been going on since the start of the race. They've not let each other up here, have the two drivers in the GT3 class. This is a battle for P9 that you're seeing right there, and this is the battle for P1. Francesco Fidelibus ahead of Leonardo Porco there, and you can see coming through Blanchimont once again are these drivers, and just keeping it flat out, letting it stick here, and there they go, sending it down towards the chicane And you know what, James? Or do you think Porco might be measuring where he's able to overtake Fidelibus at?
Well, if I was Porco here, I would. I mean, they've passed all the GT4 traffic, as you can see on the map, so he's not going to have the luxury of getting past him with a GT4 mistake. So I don't know, I think he's probably just sticking behind. There's an hour to go in this race. There's no need to race him too hard. Is that Niels only 4 seconds behind Alfarano right now?
That is absolutely right. I think he's going to send it up the inside. Are they going to make contact? No, they stay clean there. And it looks like Niels might be overtaking the leader of the GT4 class right now. Was he able to get through there? I believe so, and here they go. Towards Eau Rouge, it looks like Niels is going to be in front.
Yeah.
Or was that Matea that he was holding off? Was there a mistake from Niels?
No, a mistake from Alfarano. Oh, is that Matea? Yeah.
There must have been a mistake there from Niels. And apologies, that was not the battle with Alfarano. Oh, no, it was! As the timing tables just will not update. That was Niels overtaking Alfarano there. We were spot on originally, James.
Yeah, it's just ACC broadcast client does not like to give you the deltas at the right time. Alfarano looked half asleep. Niels was 4 tenths back on the straight. The GT3 car in the way slightly, but Alfarano just chose not to turn in for turn 1, and Niels like, well, thank you very much. That's a free position. And now look, Alfarano's dropped off completely. He must have damage of some description to be losing this much time. There's a mistake in it I don't think we've seen. And that last lap was a 2:33.8. So yeah, 2.5 seconds slower than it should have been. Something's happened to Alfarano, possibly with a GT3 car.
I'm taking a look here at his car. Looks pretty clear, doesn't it? The GT4.
It looks fine. Just the sudden loss of pace is incredible.
And you know, the car will still look great even if you have a spin. So
exactly right. Could have been a spin. Tires have heated up loads, and you just have no grip till you've cooled those tires down. And now he's slowly getting back into the rhythm.
And Niels can just sign the check and put it right in my bank account. He's in P1 right now in the GT4 class. I believe started from P7.
Yeah, P7. He's overtaken Alfarano, Onorati, Matea, Shins, Maximilian, and Davide Chiesa this race in 35 minutes. Extraordinary.
Yeah, what a race from him. Here's Maximilian fending off Peretti there just behind it. Looks like Peretti's trying to get through there, and it looks like he's going to have a good run down towards Blanchimont, but that's going to allow Maximilian to have the inside line there. So what are these two drivers going to do? It looks like they're trying to stick it the best they possibly can, and here they go into Blanchimont. What is going to happen between the two of them as the camera decides to bug out a little bit? That was Antonio going around the outside. In the GT3 class, that was Antonio there sending it around the outside of the two GT4 drivers. Are you kidding me?
Wow. Catch your breath. That is unbelievable racing again. We've had 2 little incidents this race. Oh, one up the inside doesn't quite get the move done. We've had 2 incidents this race. Everything else has been exquisite driving from the guys at Race Online. Truly extraordinary.
There it is, the replay once again. Hold on, let me just show that one more time. Look at this. From Antonio sending it around the outside of the 2 GT4 cars, and Maximilian ended up winning that position as well. Wow, this racing is absolutely phenomenal, James.
Yeah, you can't beat multi-class racing, especially when the field is this good at it. It's just fantastic to watch.
And Niels now leading the silver class, or I apologize, the GT4 class that is. And here's Maximilian still trying to fend off Peretti here. Peretti trying to get up the inside there, but just not close enough. And through Lake Calm, as long as there's no mistakes, it looks like Maximilian will hold on to that, but not for long with the pace that Peretti has there behind.
Yeah, it seems like a matter of time before Peretti gets past. He just seems like the quicker driver in these conditions on his current fuel level. Yeah, I'd be shocked he didn't get past. So how's the battle for the lead doing as they go up to the bus stop now?
Yeah, here's Fidelibus here ahead of Porco still. And let's take a note of where Murano is in relation to these gentlemen that you see out on track right now. The 95 car is coming through the first corner, so has really managed the pace pretty well here. There's Porco. Is he going to try and go for an overtake here? It looks like he's at a pretty good advantage here for a better run. And no, not quite, as Fidelibus closes it off decently there. And again, The one-time race leader, Matteo Morano, there is going down the Kemmel Straight right now as these drivers are coming through the first corner.
Yeah, you have to think that these guys have the net lead of the race, right? Based off the damage that Morano had, he'd have to. What's his lap times like right now, Morano, compared to these guys?
So Morano ran a 2:20.1 compared to these guys. Well, Francesco ran a 2:20.2. However, Leonardo ran a 2:19.9. So they're all very, very close still.
Yeah, I think that won't be enough for Morano to get the lead of this race. I can't imagine. Based on the damage, he's going to have a longer pit stop. He'll need to be at least half a second lap quicker to be gapping them and closing that gap when the pit stops shake out. Paul Brandon in a bit of a race of his own now. Quicker than Gattuso after he's got settled down. Not as quick as the guys ahead with his damage.
Yeah, he's about half a second off of where he needs to be as well to catch up to these guys. But you can see, look at that damage that he picked up from that incident earlier on with Fidelibus.
Oh, and Alfarano's got a drive-through. A drive-through penalty for Alfarano. For some reason, I've lost comms with race control, with my team speak. I assume that's for track limit violations.
If you want to try and get that settled back in, James, that's all right.
Yeah, I assume that's for track limit violations from Alfarano.
Yeah, the drive-through will cost you massively on a pit stop like this, where you have to kind of wrap around almost a quarter of the circuit just to get back out. As Luca Alfarano here definitely struggling, the one-time race leader for the GT4 class, has now dropped down to P2, but he will drop down massively behind P2 after he's done his drive-through penalty. As you can see, all of the drivers behind in the GT4 class are very, very close.
A drive-through at Spa is not an ordinary penalty. That's 57 seconds of time.
Exactly.
It's race ending here. 20 seconds at something like Donington is okay. But that is completely race ending for Alfarano, and Nils right now on P1 must have the biggest smile on his face.
Yeah, that's a godsend for Niels there, because you figure his next closest contestant is Jan Honorati, he has already passed once this race, and Karim Matea there, who he has also passed, and to be passed by Niels is just about everybody.
I mean, yeah, and the only thing, Kevin Saklari mentioned in the chat that maybe Shin's on full fuel. Maybe that's just him guessing, or maybe he knows that for a fact because they are friends. But if Shins can stay within 20 seconds of the lead or so, he should be in the lead when the pit stops shake out just on all the tyres, and we will have a race for P1.
And Francesco actually improved his pace a little bit there. He was quicker than Leonardo just a lap ago. But you can see Porco has closed the gap once again. So good luck getting away from the 285 drivers. He's been monstrously quick today. Francesco, still curious if there's going to be any stewards looking at that incident with Brandon. So on about
I think
the
it's a
third lap.
racing incident. I haven't heard from race control. As I said, maybe it's an issue on my end. But I think they would have decided by now. I just think they're going to say, you know what, there was a little bit of overlap. Brandon turned in. The other guy probably shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Let's get on with it. We're all big boys here now to race.
Fair enough, as we know they have the pace to battle back here, but it's unfortunate if one of them or both of them picked up damage in an incident like that. Here's Scolari chasing down Maximilian here, I believe.
That's Chiesa on the back of Scolari right
All
now.
right, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That is Chiesa just behind there. So down the Kemmel Straight, do you foresee an overtake here shortly, as we know Chiesa's a very quick driver?
He lost a ton of time on the exit there. He was really close and he lost time on exit. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near close enough now, as, yeah, not quite enough to follow through for the middle sector now. We're 42 minutes into this race right now. Pit stops are starting to come, as we can see. Ippolito's in the pits, Proetti's in the pits for the GT4 category. Which of the leaders are going to blink first and go for the undercut, because it will be so valuable.
Look at this. Is this going to be an attempt at an overtake by Porco here? He's going to have a run around the outside. Can he do the switchback maneuver here? He's going to have a pretty good run there, isn't he? As he's just going to tuck in behind once again down towards Eau Rouge.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I love the racing, but if I'm one of these guys, if I'm Porco, I'm pitting right now. Get the undercut, get the fresh tires on, and you should come out ahead. The longer they wait and just wait for the other person to do something, the less chance they've got of taking the lead, I think.
And while both drivers are obviously very quick, it seems like Porco has been a bit quicker to stay this close. It almost looks like he's managing the gap to Fidelibus in front there and just isn't able to get through. So I think you're right, a pit stop might do him wonders right now.
Yeah, I think it looks like Porco's running a higher downforce setup, as I said a few times this race now. He's able to cling on through the middle sector where he probably shouldn't be able to cling on. And then in the first and final sectors, he's not quick enough in the straights to get by him, so the slipstream's just dragging him along.
And here's Yana Honorati here. He was P2 behind Niels due to the drive-through that Alfarano had. That dropped Alfarano down to P23, if you're wondering, and he still has to conduct a mandatory pit stop here. Pro Eddie is the only GT4 driver to have his mandatory pit stop completed so far, and there's quite a few GT3 cars in the pit right now, including Alessandro Trabucco and Alex Rosetta.
Yeah, for me, the big question is in this GT4 category, when will Marek Shins pit? Because assuming Nils on low fuel from the overtakes he's done and Shins is on full fuel, if Shins can keep posting mid to high 32s and pit in 15 minutes time, he should have the net lead of the race. And we've seen these guys race in qualifying. He will not give up the position to Nils easily, even on old tyres. I can't wait to see that.
And here's Alessandro Trabucco coming out of the pit. He'll be right next to a GT4 car. There you see coming at the top of Radion. Look at them. Could they get any closer at the pit exit there? As there's Trabucco there just behind the GT4 car in front.
Is he going to go outside now? Not quite. And still the leaders don't pit.
It's quite interesting from them. Let's take a look. Where is Morano at right now? He's managed that gap brilliantly to these fine gentlemen behind, hasn't he? If you take a look at where he is on track, obviously we're just doing the eye test here, but he's about in the same area that he was maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago.
He just needs to close it though, because this pit stop would have been 40 seconds or so because of the damage. I think Morano's going to come. As you can see, look, he's behind Trabucco and Rosetta after the pit stops.
And there's the halfway call for the race. There goes Fidelibus there through on a lapped car, and Porco behind. Porco may be hoping for a blue flag to allow him to sneak through.
Yeah, using those GT4s well. Yeah, Morano's long gone in this race. He's P11, third of the cars that have pit, so he's behind Rosetta and Trabucco on raw pace right now.
And here's Antonio, Franceschina, and Ignoni straight into the pit.
Chiesa with the drive-through.
And look who else is in.
Track limits and the leader.
That is going to be Niels van der Kokel in the pit. And go ahead with what you were saying. Who picked up the drive-through there?
Poor Davide Chiesa picked it up. I'd assume at the exit of the, I think it's turn 15. Is from when it pops up on my screen. I think it was going through 15 and 16.
And he'll serve it immediately here, straight into the pit. Probably a smart move, as he's really not going to improve his time right now, is he? As Karim Matea will take over the lead of this race for the GT4 class. Here comes Niels van der Kokelt there. He will be behind. I believe it's going to be Maximilian sneaking through right about now. No, it's Scolari here sneaking through. So that means he'll come out ahead of Nicolino, I believe.
It's going to be close, I think, with Nicolino. Maybe slightly behind him. I'm not sure. It's going to be very close. Are the leaders still out on track right now? I can't.
Oh, he will definitely be behind.
He's at the very end.
Wow.
First one in the service, we gets the last pit box.
And look who's back up into P2. Yes, it's because of pits. That's because Leonardo Porco decided to pit, finally. And he will release Brandon Abraham to chase down Fidelibus there in P1. Fidelibus about 6.5 seconds clear of Brandon here. They had a collision earlier on that I think Brandon is probably a little bit upset with.
Yeah. Should we go on board with Fidelibus for this lap? Because this is the race right now. is whether this lap, does he get impacted by traffic too much? But this lap needs to be flawless if he's going to keep the lead of the race.
Yeah, and there's not too much pressure, at least, you know, on track right now. He's sliding a little bit there, but it doesn't look like he lost much time due to that slide. He handled it very well.
No, he's got perfect clean air, and you'd assume he's going to try cover off the pit stop. Porco's definitely got the fresh tyres now. They do take a sector or two to heat up here. And if this lap is perfect, who knows? Ooh, look at those old tyres sliding around.
A little bit of Francorchamps drift.
Yeah, so we're going to see Francesco pull into the pits in this lap, one would assume. And then let's go on board with Porco and see what his outlap's like and see how he gets out the pits. Because he's still in there right now, waiting to be let go.
Here comes Francescina. He's on his outlap right now, and he's actually battling for position. I believe that is. No, not quite battling for position just yet is Francescina there, as all of these drivers are getting settled back in. So excuse us for moving around a little bit as we're trying to find exactly who's battling where. Mattea leading the silver class right now, the GT4 class that is. And you know what, James? Chiesa actually opted to go for the pit stop there, and now he will still have to serve his drive-through.
Yeah, it's going to suck either way, I think, at that point, isn't it? Is the leader in the pit right now? Because Porco's just come out, if we can quickly have a look at that. Let's see if Fidelis comes into the pits right now, coming up through the bus stop. He should... Oh my goodness, nearly sliding into the pits. Now it's time to see. We'll go on board with Porco for this lap. And is he going to come out ahead on his fresh tyres?
Well, while he's doing that, why don't we take a look at the replay from Fidelibus here. Here he was coming down towards turn 11 here. You can see hard on the power, hits the braking point, and just slides right through this corner, but manages it perfectly and is able to hold on to the rear of that Porsche once again here. And here's Porco getting through a lap driver in the same portion of the track that we just saw that replay at.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see if Porco's made the undercut successful. He looked really quick. That GT4 traffic wasn't too race-ending for him. As Abraham stays out, so maybe he's doing the no-tyre strategy, I'm not sure. And this is Fidelibus working his way down towards his pit box. It takes an age. It seems like we saw him going to the pits 10 minutes ago, and he's only halfway down the pit lane here.
Yeah, here is Porco, who's going to be hunting down the race leader that was Francesco Fidelibus before these pit stops occurred. And here's Fidelibus not even to his mark yet.
Got 30 seconds, and as we watch Porco come through, they're going to be so close, I'd imagine. So close.
As one would assume, here comes Porco down towards the final chicane of this circuit here. Where are they going to line up? Let's take a look at Fidelibus here. I wish we had pit crew out there, changing tires, putting fuel in. That would be just brilliant.
Just a bit more immersion, but that's okay. And as Porco goes around turn 1 out, is Fidelibus moving just yet? I don't think so.
Oh, this is going to be Porco all the way, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, he's underway now.
This is going to be so close. We watch Porco go up. He's got to go the slow way up Eau Rouge. Porco is going to be absolutely flat out, but I think he's too far behind.
And there goes Fidelibus. Oh, there is Porco. He's going to be even further behind the leader, Fidelibus.
Now. He will gain time up here. Is it going to be enough? He's now got hot tyres. He's gaining, and he's still gaining.
Oh, he's trying to send it.
Oh, my goodness me.
James, he was trying to send it there, and he just couldn't manage it. But look how close he still is, and it looked like they touched a little bit. Was there contact between the two drivers there? It looked like it. Porco hunting down Fidelibus here.
Porco knows this is his race. Right now, Fidelibus is on cold tyres. He's up to temperature. He has about 1 lap to make advantage of these and to try get past. Unbelievable racing that they came out so close. And a great in-lap from Fidelibus, it must be said, to keep the lead of the race.
Yeah, that was brilliant from Fidelibus. Do you think with any of that there might be an issue with fuel? Was he trying to get out quickly, or...?
No. I think it's all good. It just depends if he stopped in his marks correctly. He can lose a couple of seconds there, but I just think they're so evenly matched on pace that the cold tyres were about as quick as the old worn tyres and low fuel.
Let's look at this from Porco, still hunting down Fidelibus in front here, and Fidelibus really putting on a defensive clinic.
Yeah, there's nothing scarier than leaving the pits and seeing the car behind, seeing, oh, he's a second back, I'm fine. But that speed difference of going flat through a rouge, and he nearly had enough to get around the outside of him into turn 1 and turn 2. Sorry, turn 1 and 2 into Lacon.
It looked like Fidelibus took a little bit of a further outside line. Just give him a better run here down towards the chicane, and takes the defensive line immediately. And look how close they are coming through the chicane here. This driving is just phenomenal from these gentlemen as they're coming through the finish line. But once again here are Porco and Fidelibus, and really just matching pace.
A couple of really important things to note, which I don't think are going noticed right now. Abraham in P1, not pit yet, was objectively pretty slow at the start of this race. Is he not taking tyres and trying to take this to the end? Because he's going to save 25 seconds in the pit stop phases doing that. And he was only 6 seconds back, so he's got to lose 20 seconds on track right now, which while Fidelibus and Porco are fighting looks incredibly unlikely. And the exact same scenario as playing on the GT4 with Mateo and Shins, who appear to be high on fuel and haven't boxed yet.
And you know what? That was actually a call made early by Seclari, wasn't it? That Shins was running extra fuel there.
Yeah, big brain time from Kevin.
Let's take a look.
Mateo wasn't noticed. Was that a crash there? Was that a GT3 in the wall?
I think that was out of the pits, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if he was in the wall or not.
Oh, and look at this!
Oh my goodness me!
I just caught it at the last second. A huge spinner there from... That's Ignoni, I believe. I believe that's Ignoni there in the GT3 class. I was going to play the replay from the incident between Francesco as Brandon's in the pit. So the race leader is in the pit right now. Pay attention to where Fidelibus and Porco are right now. Fidelibus was about 6.5 seconds clear of Brandon there, so we'll keep an eye on that delta. But let's take a look at this spin here.
Yeah, I said earlier in the video that you don't want to catch a car.
Oh, and there it is. Look at that, James. It looked like he caught him at exactly the worst moment. We'll play it just another time here. And look, oh!
He's going to lift. He does not know he's going to lift, he seems. He thinks it's flat. The guy ahead lifts, and he has to swerve to avoid. Somehow does. And now Fidelibus, is this fight for the lead going to happen to a Porco around the outside? Again, just hugging the inside. Porco could not find a way past.
And is this a combination of brilliant defensive maneuvers, but also Porco maybe not knowing the exact part to overtake on this track?
It's great defense and it's different setups. He's definitely running higher aero, so he's not got the straight line speed. And the slipstream's just dragging him along, but it's not enough to pull anywhere near alongside.
So Brandon's got to get underway here if he wants any chance. He's actually going to see them coast right past the 2 leaders. And I think he's underway now. There he goes. Will he still have a good shot at P3 here? Where is Gattuccio at? There is Gattuccio there. So this is going to be a battle for the podium positions, but he's going to be quite a few seconds behind. Where is Trabucco at? Trabucco going through as well. And there is Brandon Abraham there. Will he come out in front of Trabucco? It looks like Trabucco's going to have a better run there due to the extra speed carrying through Radeon. And will be well clear of Abraham there. Now you have to feel bad for Matteo Morano.
And if you look at the GT4,
on a drive-through.
GT4s, look who's in the lead now ahead of Niels van der Kokhout. After all the pit stops, Jan Honorati has jumped Niels. Again, was there a mistake because they weren't that close in the relative, but Niels is now on P2, net on track right now, assuming the cars ahead still have to pit.
Yeah, you're right.
Got ahead.
You're absolutely right on that. Apologies for missing that. Jan is quite clear of Niels. It looks like about 1.5 seconds or so. As they come through Blanchimont here. I'm looking at Niels' lap time. His last lap was actually quicker than Jan.
I wonder if maybe Jan hasn't taken tyres. Because look how quickly Niels is gaining. For reference, he is flying up to the back of him. He's gained 1 second that lap. So I reckon Jan has not taken tyres and just on half and half fuel, no tyres, and that's where this pace difference has come from. Which
And
is, yeah,
maybe
this is exactly what
this
Shin is trying in Mattea as well.
maybe this will help you with that a little bit. So Jan 2 laps ago ran a 2:33, a mid 2:33, and just ran a 2:34 flat. So 2 laps in a row where he was about 2.5 seconds slower than Niels behind.
Yeah, it's fuel and old tyres are not a good combination. Can he defend? You've got to think Niels is going to be so much faster. Straight line speed will be similar, of course.
And he's
Yeah,
gone.
Jan doesn't fight it. It's not worth it because that move was as inevitable as a move gets. He was 2.5 seconds quicker a lap.
So you heard me mention earlier there was a drive-through. It was to this guy you see right now, Alex Rosetta. He'll be serving that drive-through immediately. He's had a great race today. Almost collects the wall there into the pit entry. Probably a bit of anger there as well. As here is the podium, the final podium sitter for the GT3 class. Gets in a tussle there with a GT4 driver. And is through. Is that Chiesa there? No, Chiesa's in the pit serving his drive-through penalty.
I think he is done for the day, is Davide Chiesa.
Unfortunate from Chiesa. I really wanted to see what he would be able to do in some battling here. But speaking of battling, look at this going on. Fidelibus and Porco just can't decide if they want to concede. Wow, what a battle.
Stewards have just informed Rosetta got his drive-through for a massive, massive crash with Rodriguez. Again, there's so much going on, and we don't have the ability to go and look at the entire race, sadly. But his car does not look healthy, that's for sure.
Well, for Rodriguez, where do you see damage at right now on his car?
The rear just doesn't look right. Everything looks a little bit dirty. It just... Oh, I thought for some reason my screen looked like he was shaking around then. A little bit of lag on my end, but nothing too bad. But that car just does not look perfect.
As here is Brandon Abraham. I thought he would be a bit closer to the podium positions here. And I'm kind of secretly rooting for him. And Niels obviously had the early prediction there that those two would win their respective classes. And Niels is putting on a show here for the GT4 class, isn't he? Just miles ahead.
The question is, with every lap that Shins and Mattea do in the lead, Mattea I think is now more of a threat because he is 6, 7, 8 seconds ahead of Shins. With every lap that Mattea does, it's 3 litres less fuel, and it's an extra second off his pit stop time. So if he pits now, he's probably looking at only a 10-second pit stop. If he pits the next lap, it'll be a 9 or an 8-second pit stop. So there's a very strong chance that this 5-second pit stop versus 30 seconds of Niels is going to be hugely defining in this race.
And this battle, I can't believe how close these drivers have been for now an hour of racing, still a half hour to go here, and Porco has been all over the rear wing of Fidelibus the entire time.
At this point, you're seeing this delta so close, but it looks sadly inevitable. There is nothing that Porco can do to get past this car. He tried the undercut, was his best chance, and it just didn't work for him. It was as close as he's been all race.
What other battles are going on? Here's a battle back here, I believe. All GT3 cars right now. It looks like one of the drivers conceding a position there. That was Francescina getting through. I think that may have been a lap driver, actually. So I don't think that's Antonio. No, it's not. Antonio was the next car behind there.
Or Mattea's in the pits quickly now, so this is going to be really interesting to see how he comes out against Niels van der Kokhout.
Yeah, so here's Mattea coming down the pits, and I see Niels is in the second sector. So let's see where Niels comes through on Mattea here, but also pay attention to Shins, who is already up by a 10th on his fastest lap. So he's looking to improve. Maybe this is an in-lap for Shins as well.
Yeah, I know. I imagine they can go a couple of laps longer than this. But eye test says that Mattea does not have the gap to Niels right now.
I would agree with that.
Niels should have the lead.
I would agree with that just based upon what we've seen so far. Here is Niels coming through Blanchimont there and down towards the chicane. Mattea has not even stopped yet.
But of course, it's a short pit stop.
You're right.
He's only going to be stopped for 5-10 seconds, you would think. And this will really tell us what's going to happen with Shins' race as well, but it looks really good for Niels, it must be said, and I think he's come to a standstill now.
Yeah, here goes Niels. And, oh!
Yep,
Is that
he's out
Mateo
again.
underway?
Yep.
He's
Quick pit
off!
stop as predicted. And he will have the lead of the race, you would imagine.
So here is Mateo being released from the pits. He's underway here. Here is Niels van der Kokelt coming through Eau Rouge. He'll have a better run up towards the Kemmel Straight. A bit more speed will carry up there. But it's not enough to catch Mateo. And a brilliant strategy. Look at that,
Niels
James.
is going to be all over Mateo within 1, 2, 3 laps. Like, Mateo has taken limited fuel. He's probably tracking this in his head, so he knows when to pit to come out ahead. I think that gap is... Niels has covered off Marek Shins, I think. The gap's too small to Mateo, but Marek Shins would come up behind should he pit now.
Yeah, so here's Marek Shins. If he were to box right about now, would be about the same gap that we saw between Niels and Mateo. So what does that mean for Shins?
Is he gonna box?
Oh,
No,
he's going to
keep
stay
going.
out. Interesting. So not battling for the lead is Shins. Looks like he's battling for P3, is it? Overall?
Yeah, I think he'll come out around Jan Onoradi once all this shakes up. But what a lap from Shins. A 2:31.7. His fastest of the race. If he can put those kind of laps together, who knows where he's going to come out.
That's why I was under the assumption he was on an in-lap, because he was really shredding those tires there.
Yeah, Kevin in the chat right now, Niels does have new tyres, that's totally right, but having new tyres does not guarantee an overtake here. You'll be quick through the middle sector, but you're both going to be on the same fuel level, and you know that Mateo's done the strategy. He is not going to make it easy, as it looks like Porco's just kind of...
What has happened between
off.
Fidelibus and Porco here? Is 2 seconds behind.
It could be as simple as GT4 traffic.
As all GT3 drivers have conducted their mandatory pit stops here, we're only waiting on Shins, Maximilian, and Vali here to conduct their pit stops, and every pit stop will be done, and what you see on track is what you get at that point. But right now, it's Marek Shins leading Maximilian here, and Mateo will be leading Niels van der Kokelt.
Yeah, Niels is catching Mateo, but it's one thing to catch the car, it's another thing to overtake the car ahead. So we're going to have a hell of a battle, I think, to finish off this race. Because Niels is going to be right alongside Mateo with about 20 minutes to go. He's going to have 8 laps to get past, and it's hard to see Mateo holding him off for that long.
And there's Niels that you see just behind Mateo there. But that I mentioned will be not easy to overcome, as you do have to still, as you mentioned, get that overtake done. Here's Antonio. Looks like he's battling with Rosetta here. After Rosetta had his drive-through penalty, we'll be battling with the Ballas team.
The GT4 come up ahead at the worst possible moment. Just going up to Blanchimont.
Oh, he sneaks through.
Both up the inside just in time. Wow, that could have been a repeat of what happened before.
What a battle this race has been for everybody out on track. Let's see what other battles are going on right now as drivers are settling into their positions pretty consistently. If you take a look at the left-hand side there, the timing tower, you will see that a lot of drivers are not very close to each other. There's Rosetta sending it up the inside of Antonio there, and it looks like Antonio's trying to fight back down towards Eau Rouge, and here they go, going through the pit straight here. You see them side by side, and it's going to be an inside line for Antonio up Eau Rouge, and it looks like he just backed out of it at the last second. Didn't want the inevitable collision to occur. Did they both exceed track limits there? That seemed a bit wide.
Yeah, they both went off. That was a game of chicken if you've ever seen one. Who's going to back out first? Because too wide does not go through Eau Rouge very easily. And up the inside he goes now. He's got the run and gets that position back. Great move from Antonio, and rightly backing off into Eau Rouge.
Antonio here actually looked like he got onto the grass a little bit. Will that compromise him down into turn 11? It looks like it might, as Rosetta's trying to send it up the inside. He's going to, they make contact. Oh, and Rosetta's off.
It looked like Rosetta understinned him through that corner. There's so much.
Oh, and there's a spin there from Antonio. He did not even collect the car, and there goes Rosetta through. Rosetta will be through. That's, I believe, going to be a lapped car through.
Yeah, it's just some GT4s getting past them. Antonio, Rosetta hit you earlier. But you managed to come off better on it. And then one thing you can't do is go spin next corner. Pretty gutting stuff.
Well, you know what, James? We saw it once. How about we take a look at it again? This battle between Antonio and Rosetta. Unfortunately, didn't get the perfect camera angle for it. But here was Antonio being released from Lake Como. Got a bad run at it, and Rosetta got a pretty good run. But you're right. Just kind of oversteers a little bit. They make contact both around the front wheel portion. And it looked like Rosetta came out worse from it. But into the next corner, Antonio sent it onto the grass, much like George Russell just a day ago, and lost it.
Yeah, hopefully there's not the same middle finger and the exchange after that collision.
No, I don't think so. I think this is friendly racing, whereas that might have emotions running a bit higher there, as Niels van de Kokelt is being overtaken by a GT3 car as he's trying to still catch Karim Mattea there. Mattea doing a great job of maintaining the gap, but you can see Niels still closing in about a second a lap.
Yeah, Niels is up Eau Rouge. Next time it's going to be very close, maybe even into the bus stop this lap. But he doesn't need a rush. He doesn't need to force the overtake. He's got fresh tyres. Mattea will make a mistake. He has to make a mistake because he's on such old tyres. And I can't see... It should be a pretty easy move, I would think, on the fresh tyres, but you never know.
And you know what, James? The Curbsy special, as I like to call it, is wondering what the other commentators, from your perspective, what do you think has been the best battle so far? But good luck answering that, as you're just going to think battle after battle in this race. It has not let up.
Unbelievable, and everything's been a battle for the lead, it seems. These aren't mid-pack battles that we're seeing, excuse like in a lot of races. These are first place in GT4 class, first place in GT3 class, going wheel to wheel for lap after lap, and it's just amazing to watch.
Yeah, corner after corner, they're fighting it out, and you know who might be fighting it out very shortly here. Switch over to that as long as there's not an attempt here, although we'll stay on board with Niels as he might have a run here up towards Eau Rouge on Mattea. Here they go. Coming through, we see those flags waving. Ignore those for a moment because these guys are racing out on track right now, and they're trying to race for P1 in the GT4 class, and there they are, following each other up. There's a GT3 car getting mixed up in there as well. He's going to go around the outside of them, but look out for these drivers to maybe have an attempt at an overtake.
Grabs the slipstream of the GT3 car, just anything to keep that gap, because you can see how much quicker Niels is up Eau Rouge, where it's not flat for these cars, so the grip really matters through Eau Rouge.
Oh, and look how much time he just gained through Lake Como there. You could see him dive in early on the brakes, and there he goes. It looks like he's going to try and send it up the inside here. No, he's going to switch to the outside, and that's going to be covered off by Mattea there. And look how close Niels is to the rear of Mattea.
Look how slow Mattea is through this section of track. Goodness me.
Well, it's just a matter of time, isn't it?
Pushed around. And you got to think now, if Mattea can hold up Niels for long enough, Shin suddenly comes back into play. Because Shin's will be going quicker than these guys up ahead. So it's far from over, assuming Mattea can keep this guy behind him.
Well, look at this battle now. Brandon Abraham has shown his true pace, and he's catching the podium position of Trabuco there. He has gained massively over the last few laps. However, last lap, it was only by 1/10. That shows that Trabuco is really trying to ignite the flames here and hold on to that podium position. But good luck with someone like Brandon Abraham chasing you from Valache Esports just behind there. He has massive pace, as he's shown throughout this race, and here he is hunting down that P3 position. Will he be able to switch back here and hunt him down towards turn 1? Here they go. Released from the chicane.
At the inside of Mattea there or not? I'm not sure. There's battling going on literally everywhere right now. Yeah, we've got these two cars here for the race leading the GT4 class. I'm sorry.
Oh, and there's a spin there from Trabuco! There's a spin from Trabuco, and look, Brandon Abraham, brilliant.
Let's go back to Niels now, because I don't know where to look. The battle for the lead in the GT4 or third for the GT3 class.
Yeah, here goes Niels getting the good run on Mattia there, but Mattia, brilliant defensive maneuver there. Here he goes. It's almost a carbon copy of what we just saw. Here goes Niels sending it up the inside. He's going to hold on to that. And it looks like a good run from Mattia there, but with those tires, will he be able to get the traction needed to really get that Porsche planted in the GT4 class?
Mattia, he can't back out here, because if he backs out, it's the race done, because he won't get back past Niels on the old tires.
And
Look
there
at
it
the
is.
grip of Niels. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide on exit, and Mattia has a big chance here.
So Brandon did get back past. Apologize.
Because Mattia is in that slipstream. And is he going to send it here? He's got to where the race is gone. Niels has gone in deep, slightly left the door open. But yeah, just the old tyres, nothing he can do. Sorry to take over that.
No, absolutely. This was quite a good battle going on. I just wanted to say that Brandon did get back past Trabuco there after he gave the position back. So Brandon up into P3 in the GT3 class. That battle's far from over, where it looks like Niels might be able to put in quite a gap on Mattia here. And here is Brandon Abraham ahead of Trabuco. And also keep an eye out on Marek Schins here. He's still out. 16 minutes to go. He has to pit. Maximilian has to pit. But this is a pretty good position for Schins right now.
Yeah, I think Niels is in clean air. I'd be shocked if he didn't have the gap. But I really think that Schins and Mattia / Honorati could be in a big battle at the end of the race. I'm not sure whereabouts he's going to come out, though.
And here's Trabuco and... Oh, and there's a drive-through for Acione coming in there as I'm watching Abraham and Trabuco come down towards turn 1. If you're wondering what happened a lap ago, well, here it is I don't believe there will be an attempt at an overtake here. No, not quite. So we'll quickly show the replay here. As I switched over to Niels, we switch back and we find Trabuco spun into the wall. There it is. And I'm going to assume that Brandon tapped him there, because you could see him allow Trabuco to carry on ahead in that P3 position.
Yeah, must have. Yeah, he wouldn't have returned the place otherwise. So definitely contact. Mattia just going backwards now. Obviously that's a GT3 car, but he has completely lost touch with Niels.
Yeah, we don't expect him to stay in pace with Niels, as Niels has those fresher tires. But Marek Schins here, look at the distance he is away from Niels here. So right now coming through Pouan and Niels going up Eau Rouge. And as an American, I'm doing my best to attempt those pronunciations, but I know they may be a bit off. Apologies for that.
That seemed pretty good, don't worry about it. That seemed pretty good. Niels doing 32.8. What are Schins' lap times right now?
So Niels did a 2:32.8, as you had just mentioned, and Shin did a 2:32.0.
Just maybe this is going to be closer than we thought then.
I think this might be closer than we thought, James.
I mean, I hope so, because I want to see more amazing racing for the lead of this race, right?
Oh, absolutely. As here's Shin's being overtaken by another GT3 car. That's not exactly unexpected here on this circuit. I'm going to stay on board with Schins for a moment and see if he finally decides to box here. Not quite. So still running his race here.
How long can a tank of fuel last in a GT4 here? I know they're pretty fuel-efficient things. But on a track that, as you said, is 7 kilometers long, I am surprised that he is still able to do it out and put lap after lap in.
So currently, as it stands, Schins, Maximilian, and Van de Koekeldt are the podium, right? But you assume the 2 pit stops get out of the way of Schins and Maximilian, and you would accelerate Van de Koekeldt, Mattia, and Honorati up there. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Maximilian also has a brilliant strategy. He's running 2:32.5s, which is faster than Niels as well.
It's the low fuel, the car, even on old tyres, on low fuel, it seems to be okay. So Mattia is on had to refuel his car, which is why he's slower than Niels. Oh my goodness.
Ooh!
That's scary.
Wow, must have looked in his wing mirror in the last second to see those drivers behind there was Maximilian.
Assuming a 5-second pit stop, if there is a 60-second gap from Shins to Niels, Shins should have the lead. That's what he needs. He needs 60 seconds to Niels when they all pit.
Ooh, and that was actually the one-time race leader there, Mattea, getting a bit squirrely, being overtaken by Porco there, who has lost a massive amount of time to Fidelibus here, who's running P1 in the GT3 class. Here is Brandon Abraham, not exactly far behind Leonardo Porco there for P2 with 12 minutes to go. And if you're wondering what happened going up Eau Rouge there with Maximilian, he was being overtaken by the driver we are on board with and the driver just behind there of Trabuco. They're battling for P3 as Maximilian was trying to battle for P2, obviously by himself, but needs to keep those lap times up if he wants a chance at a podium position here.
And the safest way for these GT3s to get past seems to just go off the track. You can't hit them if you're on the track. So at Blanchimont, they're going to go wide. At Eau Rouge, they're going to cut the corner. They'll lift to avoid a penalty, but it's not worth risking following them through a track that is that tight through there.
And here's Antonio completing another lap. I just have to give this livery some more airtime here. Look at this. Beautiful.
Mad Max.
Beautiful going down towards turn 1 there. We'll just go down the order as we don't have any battles really going on, although it looked like Morano was battling there for a moment. Let's go down the order here that we were just in. Here's Emmanuel Rodriguez running in P12 with Salvatore Acione there behind in P13. He has a drive-through penalty, however, so Andre Ramirez will look to improve and try and get past him. Shins will be the leader in that GT4 class, and he's staying out once again.
And it's great pace. It's 32.1s. I don't know what Niels is doing right now. You have to
A
keep
31.9.
So it's the same laps, basically.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It is brilliant from Marek Shins here, really putting on a masterclass. And don't forget about Maximilian. He ran a 35.5 a lap ago, but I'm going to assume that's because of that incident there into Eau Rouge where he had to actually brake going up a flat-out portion. So there he is. You can see taking the racing line there, is back on the throttle. Niels will be behind here. He's coming down towards the bus stop chicane. So Niels, who's running P3 right now before all of the pit stops are done. He was the leader before the pit stops started there. Karim Mattea there lost that position to Niels, but you can see he's still managing the gap decently. Jan Onorati behind there with Kevin Scolari behind him. Giacomo Proetti is behind in P21 with Luca Alfarano in P22. We'll keep going down the order here as Nicolino there, P23, ahead of Velazzi there in P24, Valley in 25, and Swarty in P26. Davide Chiesa is going to be our lone retirement so far, I believe, as Francesco Fidelibus is still leading this race.
Yeah, the GT3 battles at the front sadly seem... The battle for the P3 is obviously still ongoing with Trabuco and Abraham. But GT4, that P1 is what's interesting me right now. The top two seem secure, Fidelibus and Porco in GT3. But is Shins going to jump Maximilian, or is that a pipe dream?
Well, we'll see here. Here is Shins coming down. Is that Mattea? No, it is not Mattea. It's somebody running in identical livery to Mattea.
So, from the maths I've just done, Maximilian is 20.5 seconds behind Shins, and Niels, if you'll see on the time screen, Wilpop was 45 seconds or so.
And there he goes.
Maximilian. I think Shins has a 65-second gap. 5-second pit stop. He should come out a couple of seconds ahead. He has to get this right. He has to enter the pits bang on, stop on his marks without having to get moved around by the game, because that can cost you 2 or 3 seconds. Put in as small amount of fuel as possible, and hope that he comes out ahead, as we should go on board with Niels for this final lap.
Absolutely. I just wanted to see if Maximilian was going in, which he is. So it shows P1 and P2 both diving into the pits. And here comes Niels. From what I've seen in the past, just as you said, mental math, Niels will come out behind these two drivers there in P1 and maybe even P2.
He'll definitely be ahead of Maximilian, there's no doubt.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind of that. That's secure. The 21-second gap to Maximilian. But then the gap from Niels to Maximilian, which we'll see at some point, I think it's in the mid 40 seconds.
So
At which point, that's not going to be close enough to jump Shins, assuming a quick pit stop. Because Shins, I think, if you look at Shins right now, he's going down the pit lane, about to come to a stop, and he will be stopped for such a short amount of time if you look at him. And Niels has just crossed the line now. Shin stops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seconds. Longer than I expected. But look, I think he's got P1.
He may have P1 here. He's going to be on those old tires, though. Will that come into play here? This brilliant race brought to you by Racing Line Motorsports with collaboration from PPR Esports Curbsy and James Warren in the booth today. And we thank Racing Line Motorsport, who have put together this brilliant grid of GT3 and GT4 drivers, including Niels and Marek Shins here, who are battling now for P1 overall.
Oh, pre-race, who did you say was going to win? You said Niels, I said Shins. So this is going to be... Our predictions have come pretty much true, Curbsy. We will see who's going to win this race, but Niels is going to be straight on the back of Marek, I can imagine, on those fresher tyres and now the same fuel load.
And look who is in the Twitch chat. Someone very afraid of doing post-race interviews, even after winning a race, is afraid to get on the comms.
Someone ban that man from watching this stream. Cody Pride, hello.
And there he is. Here's Niels hunting down Marek Shins here for P1 overall. Just 6 minutes to go in this brilliant race here. The GT4 class has really put on a show here. It was a great display of effort from all of the GT3 drivers. However, they did settle into quite a groove here with Francesco Fidelibus leading the way from Leonardo Aporco there in P2. Brandon Abraham in P3 will be diving into Les Combes about 2 seconds ahead of Trabuco there. So let's go back to that battle for the lead of GT4, as this is really the battle ongoing, isn't it?
Yeah, and Kevin's totally right in the chat there. What a race from both Niels and Marek. His teammates in the SimGrid World Cup, amongst other endurance events. I don't know who the better driver is, but totally different strategies. And Marek and you earlier on, I'm not going to race these guys. I will use their slipstream and just put lap after lap in and trust my strategy will win me this race. And so far, he's not wrong with 2-3 laps to go.
And you know what, Niels, let's see what the lap time is starting now. Once they're both on fresh, clean laps here, how close are they on pace?
The gap's still coming down, Curbsy. It's still above 3 seconds. I thought this would be 2.5 already, maybe less. The gap is maintaining. Shins is absolutely flying on an 85-minute-old set of Pirelli tyres.
And you know what? Maximilian fell a bit further down than I had assumed he would. He's behind Jan Honorati here. I thought he would have a good run at least P4. But he's sitting in P5 right now ahead of Scolari here. But here's Niels and Shins. Look at this lap time from Shins. Absolutely flying here.
Yeah, you've got his current delta up right now, but I assume he is, with low fuel, will be quick in Sector 1, and this is where you should start to see the gap come down. So it's 3 seconds at the start of Sector 2. How much can Niels close it in by? If it's not 2 by the end of the lap, I think that's race 1 for Marek Shins barring the extraordinary.
Wow, what a strategy from Marek Shins here. We saw early on, I think there was a little mention from you maybe, not to call you out or anything, but it was almost a mention of, wow, what's happened to the pace of Shins? And almost immediately we saw Kevin Siclari in chat there mention, you know, I think he's running some extra fuel here.
Yeah, absolutely right. I didn't think it was going to be the strategy, but we've seen it at PPR a few times this year. Niels always takes tyres. And it's quick and it's fun. But the guys that don't gain lap time all the time. If they can keep it on the track and conserve tyres, they are outstanding, and it tends to be the quickest way around a racetrack.
So let's see here. It looks like he's about 2 or 3 tenths up on where he needs to be. So Marek Shins still putting in the lap times here in this GT4 car. You can see Niels sneaking through the camera there in the back. over the rear wing, you will see Niels coming around that corner, and there's a 5-second time penalty for Antonio there. What has happened to Antonio as he's dropping down the grid?
And Niels lost time in Sector 2. How on fresh tyres, he lost 2 tenths through the sector where he should be the quickest. Sector 1 and Sector 3 are more about the power of the car, tyre grip's less important besides traction at the bus stop. If Niels isn't gaining through Sector 2, Shins must know right now it's his race to lose with 2 laps to go.
You know what? With this battle for the lead going on right now, it's not going to involve the driver you see just in front of Marek Shins here. That's Sergio Suardi, I apologize, running definitely the best livery of the day, in my opinion, although Antonio has a good run at that as well, in that brilliant purple livery that we saw in the GT3 class. Look at this for Abraham and Trabuco. This battle is heated back up for P3.
Porco's gained 2 seconds on Fidelibus in the last 2 laps as well.
And we see Porco still 2 seconds behind, though, with 2 minutes to go. Is there really enough time to get through there? It's only 1 more lap. As look how close Trabuco is to Abraham there for P3.
There is a good chance this is the final lap of the race while the white flag hasn't been waved yet. But with where Fidelibus is on track, there's a good chance this is the final lap of the race, and there's only 1 more chance left for Trabuco to get this done around the outside of Abraham, potentially.
And sorry, trying to switch over to make sure I have all the information correct here. This is still, it has to be a lunge, doesn't it, from Trabuco?
Yeah, he has to send it, and it's absolutely worth sending it. It's a 90-minute one-off race. You will regret sitting behind this. Go for the move. You've got a huge 30-second gap to the car behind. If you get a penalty, you'll get a penalty. It's not going to be ending your race. So he's got to send it. Good defending, though, from Abraham.
Oh, and look how close Trabuco is there behind. But this will give Abraham a good run out of Le Combe here. And there they go. Down towards the next corner. It's going to be Trabuco trying to get through on Abraham. And something tells me this is going to go down to the wire here between the 2 drivers here for the final podium position. As Fidelibus leads this race from Porco and Abraham.
Absolutely.
And a drive-through picked up by Scolari.
Oh, yeah, poor Scolari, not Siclari. That's messed with me this entire race. I really want to watch this GT3 battle, but we might have to see Fidelibus cross the line to win this race as he approaches the final sector.
I'll switch back over to him as he comes across the line. I don't want to miss anything here. I'll keep an eye on him on the right-hand side of the map. You can see he's coming up towards Blanchimont right now, and this is not a great overtaking opportunity for Trabuco, is it? Don't see many overtakes through here, as that is the leader, Francesco Fidelibus, coming down towards the final chicane. Don't think we're going to see an overtake just yet. So here is the race leader and the race winner. Coming across the line is Francesco Fidelibus, just ahead of Leonardo Porco, who put on a show as well. Congratulations to Fidelibus for winning this race ahead of Porco there. And don't forget about this battle for P3. It's still ongoing into the final chicane here. Is Trabuco and Abraham. Abraham fends him off brilliantly there. Is there going to be a run by Trabuco as they make a little bit of contact there? He's going to hold him off, and Abraham will hold on to P3 ahead of Trabuco there, who finishes P4. What is going on in the GT4 race right now? As I want to take a look at Niels, you can see, is going to be way too far away from Marek Shins there.
Shins is flying. Absolutely flying. 4.7 seconds up the road. I'm not sure where he's found this pace from those old tyres. But pretty much a masterclass from Marek Shins this race. Had us all fooled with his pace in the early stages of this race. But he knew what he was doing. He's playing the long game. And Scolari gets an 80-second penalty for not serving his drive-through.
And shout out to Cody Pride in chat. Yeah, we know you drive a Porsche, but these guys are all driving Porsches. And yes, a Porsche won. Believe it or not, a Porsche won this race.
Just Shins has to keep it on the road. Imagine the anger if a GT3 car hit you right now in the lead of your own class. Just keep it on the road. Finish this race. He's got no real traffic around him now. Should be an easy coast to the line now for Maractions to take home the class win for GT4s.
And there is the man of the hour. What a brilliant... Thanks, Cody. What a brilliant race from him, and a brilliant strategy it was.
Yeah, it was... From start, he was the best driver on the grid in the GT4 class, it has to be said. He didn't have to fight anyone for this win. He's an endurance racer. That's what he races in with Racing Line most regularly. He races endurance. He knows how to put down consistent laps for 90 minutes. It's not difficult for him. And this just suited him perfectly, the strategy. And what a win in the GT4 class of Marek Shins.
Yeah, so there's Marek Shins across the line there. P1. Brilliant race from him. I guess I will concede the bet to you. Niels comes across P2. Matea, with a great strategy as well, comes across P3 to round out the podium there for the GT4 class.
Yeah,
so,
what a race.
Sorry about that. Taking a look at the final standings, we had Francesco Fidelibus there finish in P1 overall. That's going to be for the GT3 class as well. Leonardo Porco finishes P2 ahead of Brandon Abraham in P3. Alessandro Trabucco finishes P4 ahead of Salvatore Gattuccio in P5. Matteo Morano finishes P6 after his incident early on in this race after leading for a while. Fulvio Ippolito there finishes P7. Tommaso Franceschina finishes P8 ahead of Alex Rosetta in P9. Matteo Agnoni there finishes P10 ahead of Emmanuel Rodriguez. Andre Ramirez in P12 ahead of Salvatore Acione. Armiento Antonio there finishes in the final position for the GT3 class. Now moving on to the GT4 class. It's going to be Marek Shins, who you just saw claim that race victory ahead of Niels van de Kokelt, who goes from P7 to P2. Karim Matea there finishes in P3 to round out that podium ahead of Jan Onorati there. Vetti Maximilian finishes in P5 overall ahead of Kevin Scolati there in the GT4 class. Just behind Kevin Scolati, I believe, was Luca Alfarano, the one-time race leader as well for the GT4 class. Daniele Nicolino finishes just behind Luca and ahead of Michele Villazzi. Roberto Valli there ahead of Sergio Suari. And Davide Chiesa as well as Giacomo Proetti were going to be two DNFs from this race. With that,
unbelievable.
With that all said and done, James, I think that was a brilliant race. Brought to you by Racing Line Motorsport with collaboration from PPR Esports. Any last words?
Just thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks to the drivers for putting on such a good show. We're so happy to be asked to help out at PPR today. That was awesome. If you guys want to get involved with anything that Racing Line are doing, just check the links in the Twitch chat, Discord channels there, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Go subscribe, go give us a follow, and yeah, hope to see you guys racing with Racing Line soon. Thanks a lot. It was an awesome race, and thanks to you, Curbsy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the invite once again from Racing Line Motorsports, and this race has been brought to you by Curbsy and James Warren. So we'll end it off with a little bit of a sponsor spot, but I recommend you stay tuned for it as there's quite a few neat little things going on there. So thank you again to everybody, and have a good night.